Susan Downs here, Steve Fowkes in the blue shirt, and we want to welcome you to the Silicon Valley Health Institute, where we've been having for almost 20 years monthly meetings with health experts because we want to bring you information on how you can be proactive in your health. We're a nonprofit organization, so any contributions are welcome, or joining as a member. Be sure you're on our email list so you get all of our information, or join our meetup, whatever. So welcome. Anyway, also tonight we have John Gray. Now we're going to do this so that he likes to be interrupted, because otherwise he'll go on this fascinating train of thoughts. It's fascinating, but he wants to interrupt him. So raise your hand, unmute yourself. Let's do what we can to accommodate him. So he wants it interactive. So let me tell you a little bit about John Gray. I'm sure you all know about him. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. Oh my gosh, it answers so many questions about why men always want to solve things and they just don't want to hold us and hug us. Anyway, he's the author of Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. He's arguably the best-selling and most influential relationship author in the world. The #1 best-selling hardcover book in the 90s on Mars and Venus was listed by US Today as #6 among the most influential books of the last quarter of a century. With his books now translated into approximately 45 languages in more than 100 countries, he's appeared many times on Oprah, the Dr. Oz Show, Today, CBS This Morning, Good Morning America, profiled in Time, Forbes, and US Today, TV Guide, and People. He was also the subject of a 3-hour special hosted by Barbara Walters. With his trademark humor and insights making him relevant today as he was in the 90s, he's very much in demand as a public speaker, so we're glad to have him here. And for those of you who have tuned in late, he wants to be interrupted, so raise your hand, unmute yourself, because otherwise the stream of consciousness, we'll wake up a few hours later and just, having had a very nice ride. So with all that, I welcome welcome John Gray.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's such a pleasure to be back with you guys. And Stephen, thank you for inviting me again. I've been there many, many times. It's always one of the highlights for me because, people know me as the relationship guy, but there I get to talk more about wellness and health. And part of what got me into the whole wellness and health thing was with all, I'll just say 25 years ago, I had early stage Parkinson's. I'm almost 70 now. But then my head started shaking involuntarily whenever I watched TV. I was freaked out. But fortunately, I understood Parkinson's with a relative who just went downhill with Parkinson's and figured out the natural solutions at early stage Parkinson's. For me, I was able to reverse that. But it's really basically good nutrition for brain function. And so that put me in the health thing. And then once I got in the health thing, then I had a clinic for like 7 years at my ranch. That then moved me into the hormonal imbalances in men and women, because hormones are so significant for intimacy. Why are we attracted to each other in the beginning of relationships? And so many people want to keep that thrill, that vitality, that aliveness that sex hormones produce. And when it comes to men and women, we have very different sex hormone balances. Women is a mixture that's always changing of estrogen and progesterone and oxytocin and prolactin, all these various hormones that are necessary to stabilize her mood, to create attraction to men, to feel happy, to cope with stress effectively. And so I put all of that in a big book with the research on beyond Mars and Venus. Because what's happening today is, as we're more free to be independent beings, you can express your male side, your female side, you actually have a higher consciousness when you bring those two things together. And like the flow state that I'm in almost all the time, it's a balance of being completely happy and also focused and competent and confident. That's your male energy and your female energy to get today. So this freedom to develop both our male and female sides is really great. But the challenge of it, this is a real challenge. We have no culture, we have no knowledge, understanding of how to maintain the balance. The easiest thing for a woman when she feels neglected, when she feels abused, when she feels misunderstood, When she feels alone, unsupported, unloved, the easiest thing for her to do at that time is become like a man. Become independent. I don't need anybody. I can do it all myself. I don't need help. I've got it covered. And yes, that feels good because you don't feel powerless victim-like, but you disconnect from the female hormones when you do that. And there is a way to be both powerful, independent, confident, make a difference in the world, be driven, purpose the life like a man, like the masculine energy, but also full of love and joy and happiness and be stress-free. That's our objective. And what we know scientifically, when you're producing stress hormones, that's when you're unhappy, right? When you're producing stress hormones, if you're a woman, your estrogen is going low. Your testosterone is being produced to protect yourself. When you're a man, if you have stress hormones, your estrogen is high and your testosterone is low. So let's look at that. I'll say it again. When you have cortisol and you're a woman, your estrogen goes down and your testosterone starts being produced. You don't make a lot of testosterone if you're a woman, but when you're making testosterone, you're not making a lot of estrogen, one. And two, if you're in the part of your cycle and you're still cycling, when you're in the part of your cycle where you need to be progesterone dominant, if you're producing a lot of testosterone, you can't make progesterone. So what we know today is if you're somewhat in the know on hormones, there was I was talking about this in the 90s, but there wasn't any research. In 2000, they finally did research showing that the hormone oxytocin lowered stress in women. Now, that's very interesting. What it does, which they still haven't figured out yet, but I've got some research showing that, which is oxytocin lowers testosterone so that estrogen can go high. Because estrogen goes high when you feel I don't have to do it all myself. Think about it, women. When are you stressed? You feel like I have to do everything myself. That's stress for you. But for me as a man, if I go, look, I can do everything, I feel like Superman. Look what I can do. And when it's too much, I just go watch TV or meditate. I can turn off. Hard for women to turn off. So what does that mean? That means you're on your male side, you're doing. Can't just relax and let somebody do for you. See, that's real female power. The feminine power is to attract people to do it for you. Now me, I've got both. I'm an example of both. I work hard. I've written 28 books over there. I teach people. I make a difference in the world. I make money. I'm driven. I have purpose and meaning in my life. I sacrifice. I don't whine and complain. I'm a tough guy. I work out in the gym. That's all my masculine side. But I'm happy almost all the time. And I love what I do. I enjoy what I do. And everybody loves me. And there's people that hate me and I don't know who they are. They don't even want to talk to me. That's the people at the universities. In universities, they don't let me come on campus because I'm a threat. It's dangerous because people get mad when they hear somebody talking about men and women are different, which is such nonsense because we are different. Anybody who has common sense knows that. And now that we understand hormones, there's no question about it. Women need estrogen, progesterone, oxytocin. That's the right balance of those hormones will lower her stress. And when her stress is up, she's making testosterone that inhibits estrogen production. And when you're making testosterone, one of the symptoms, we'll call that your male side because it's a male hormone. As a man, I need to make 10 times more testosterone than a woman to feel good. My testosterone levels to fall in love, to be, positive, motivated, energetic, thoughtful, selfless, caring. They need to double. Needs to be 20, 30, 40 times more testosterone than a woman. That's why men can bond. Men today have such low testosterone, they can't make that commitment. They can't stay turned on to their partner. See, this is the power of masculinity. And when you have too much estrogen, you get lazy, you're irritable, you pout, you get angry. And who knew that anger is a sign of low testosterone and high estrogen? See, men don't know that. They think getting angry is some kind of powerful masculine thing. No, it's estrogen. Any negative emotion in a man is when his estrogen levels are too high and his testosterone is down. So he's defensive. He doesn't feel confident. He can't relax. So that's a lot of information. You can see I can just do this for hours. I love a good audience. And thank you, for having me here. I see a hand up for a question.
Well, I wanted to ask what's going on lately with all of this sequestering and sheltering in place, and how is that altering the way men and women are interacting, even within their own nutrition or metabolic condition?
All right. So we know as experts in health is that when you have elevated cortisol levels or an adrenal burnout because they've been elevated for too long, either of those two things, high cortisol or no cortisol because you have adrenal burnout. If you're not making cortisol, you're not making any of these steroid hormones. So you need to be, if you're a woman, you need to be making 10 times more estrogen than the average healthy, happy man, 10 times more. And for you to have an orgasm, you need to make 20 times more. For you to fall deeply in love with a man, which means you're accepting of him as opposed to being critical of him, you need to periodically experience 20 times more estrogen in your body stimulated by him. And that's what causes women to get in touch with what they want at the deepest level, which is sex. See, that's a radical idea. Women, some women would say, I want sex. Most go, sex is not that important, because sex isn't important unless your hormones are in balance. When your estrogen levels start to double, which lowers your stress dramatically, then you discover what you really want. And what you really want is a man to have sex with. That's one of your needs, not all your only, but that's the one that's so absent in America. And so basically, if you're asking about COVID, what you're looking at is nobody's having sex. That's the first thing. Men, on the other hand, they have low testosterone. And when you have low testosterone, you become addicted to pornography. And then you become addicted to ejaculation. And so while you're not making love to your wife, because she's not in the mood because you're ignoring her, you're going online and doing porn and lowering your testosterone so you can't even turn her on, because men have to have high testosterone. And this is shown that when a man's testosterone goes up, he produces certain pheromones that will raise a woman's estrogen levels. And when a woman has high estrogen, she will produce certain pheromones that go into a man and bump his testosterone up. You see, we don't need to take hormones. We have to learn the relationship skills that will allow us to naturally generate them. So now we're in COVID. So one of the challenges in COVID, I'll just say one quick thing on that and then come to COVID. For men to cope effectively with stress, they need to have plenty of testosterone. They become grumpy, irritable, passive if they're around their spouse too much of the time. The way way a man rebuilds his testosterone, which I talk about in Men Are From Mars and extensively in my most recent book, which is Beyond Mars and Venus, is how men have techniques to come back to their male side. So before these techniques are even valid, you have to realize what are the symptoms of being too far on your female side for a man. Irritability, grumpy, passive, low libido, inability to hold his attention on his wife, and addiction. Addictions have dramatically gone up and violence has dramatically gone up. This is destroying relationships around the world. And this is like, this having to stay in your home without your normal stimulation is creating huge problems in communication between men and women because we're used to being able to get what we need from our partner. So let's look at this in a bigger picture. As a happy person, my job is not to make my wife happy. My job is to make her happier. Her job is to be happy, not mine. And my job is to be happy. She's not responsible for what I feel. That's called being an adult, not a child. A child needs your parents and they cry and grumble and complain and all that stuff. But we as adults have to recognize that when we're unhappy, it's me that's causing it, not the outer world. And of course, to me, that's common sense. To most people, if they're upset, they always blame their partner. But if I was to say to all of you, if we're having a business conference and you wanted to make more money, and you're losing, maybe you're investing in the stock market and you're losing. Well, I'll say to you, well, why are you losing? Is it the stock market or is it your trading style? It's what you're doing. Maybe you're too greedy. Maybe you take too many risks. Whatever it is, you're losing. So how do you win? You've got to change your strategy. Change your strategy. Now, everybody will agree with that. Yes, change my strategy. I can be more successful. Teach me how to do that. Then it comes to relationships. And I say, okay, you have problems in your relationship. Whose fault is it? My partner. They have to change, not me. See, that's the strategy in all life, not just in workplace, at home. So what happens is part of the strategy of being happy is whether we're aware of it or not. I wrote a whole book on this, one of my books over there called How to Get Everything You Want and Want What You Have. Okay, how to get more and want what you have. And in there, one of the concepts of being a successful, happy, fulfilled person is not looking to your partner for everything. You have to look to yourself. You have to look to your children. You have to look to your work. You have to look to your spiritual consciousness. You have to look to your health. You have to look to your work. You have to look to unconditional love, serving others, helping the planet, whatever it is. These are all like love vitamins. So let's imagine that you're a single woman and you're happy. We'll take a woman, for example, because they tend to, although it's changing now as men become more feminine, they tend to be more vocal about their dissatisfaction in relationships. So suddenly you've got a woman, she's single, but she's happy. Okay. Why is she happy? Well, she has a life. She has friends. She has work. She maybe loves nature. She has maybe a spiritual relationship. These are all like love vitamins. Now I go into great detail of those love vitamins, and she's missing, she feels happy, but she's missing one love vitamin. And that's the vitamin of romance. That's the vitamin of sex. That's the vitamin of personal love, special love, special love. I love my wife more than anybody. I take care of her more than anybody. Children, they go off. I love my kids, but my wife, that's priority. Okay, that's called special love. Now, that's a need. That's a vitamin. Now, you don't have to have all your vitamins in life. You'll just age faster and so forth. But why not have all the vitamins? So let's say I've got all my vitamins except one. We'll call that one vitamin that a man can give that woman. And that's called vitamin D. Let's say you've got all your vitamins, but you're missing vitamin D. You're going to keep getting sick. You're going to get sick, and you're going to get the flu, and you're going to be vulnerable to sickness because you don't have your vitamin D. But then suddenly you've been indoors all the time. You're not out in the sunshine. You're not interacting in the world. So you're not getting your vitamin D because vitamin D is produced by the sun naturally. So you've got all your vitamins, and suddenly you're feeling kind of gloomy because you're depressed, as always has to do with other things, but also deficiency of vitamin D, weak immune system. Deficiency of vitamin D is a part of the picture. So you've got it all, you're feeling happy, but then you start feeling gloomy, something's missing, and then a man shows up. It's literally like you're unhappy, and then suddenly a cloud moves behind the sun, and the sun comes out, and you get your vitamin D, and suddenly you feel happier than you've ever been. You're called falling in love. I'm in love. I am so happy. I've never seen happier people than people who are in love. I can win the lottery. It's still not as good as being in love. So love makes us to the highest level. This personal love takes us to the highest level of fulfillment if we've got our other vitamins. And so we're used to getting that to various degrees with our spouse, that vitamin D. And it works because we've got all the other vitamins. But let's say you have no vitamins, only vitamin D. You're going to die because you need all the others too. So this is what's happening. It's causing people to not be their true self. And then they get in arguments and fights. Their stress levels get higher and higher because they're not getting all of their love vitamins. They're used to getting their happiness from their partner, and they need to wake up and realize I am responsible for my happiness. I can't blame my partner for that or expect that from them now. He's going to need his cave time. He's going to need a lot of support to find his own happiness. And she's going to have to be responsible for finding her happiness. And my books are filled with techniques that couples can do. And I don't like just talking about the problem. I always have a solution. Everything I talk about, I've got a solution, and it's not that hard if you practice it. So let me give you the solution to that. Violence in your relationship, alcoholism in your relationship, drug addiction in your relationship, massive pornography in your relationship. Let's get those dissatisfaction. Oh, I want a divorce. Oh, in Wuhan, when the virus came out, after they first came out of their homes, everybody wanted divorce. There were long lines of people wanting divorce. People were violent, unhappy, dissatisfied. This is what's happening today. And these poor children seeing their parents arguing and fighting. You know, it doesn't have to be so awful. My children, my daughter lives down the street with her children, 2 children. They're having the time of their life. This is like the best thing, more family time. They joke, they laugh because they're a harmonious couple. But if mom and dad aren't happy, the kids go ballistic, they go nuts. So this is actually good bonding time for them, but not for most families. It's very, very stressful, tension, stress. And when couples aren't feeling hormonally balanced, they suppress their emotions and the kids act out. So it's literally like if you're putting a lid on it, your kids will act out and you just don't know what to do. And you start backing into yelling and screaming, the worst conversation, the worst communication skills, interrupting, yelling, arguing, defending. Look at a man's hormones if he's doing that. His estrogen is going up his testosterone's going down. It's when men have high estrogen, they become too feminized. And if they're feeling threatened, it can turn to anger or it can turn to fear, and he can run, either one. But it's too much emotion. Men are not designed for that. They are designed to have emotion when their testosterone is up, and then they feel the emotion of joy and happiness and confidence and comfort and compassion. Those are the things that come up when a man is confident. Men need to learn the skills of how to deal with a woman when her emotions come up and she's feeling dissatisfied. Practical skills to bring up her estrogen levels. I'll put that to the side for now because I want COVID people to know this one technique. It's called Genie in the Bottle. It balances your hormones. I invented it during this time and couples are loving it. And after COVID, I'm going to be teaching it because it's so powerful. It's one of my most powerful tools to help increase estrogen in women. So testosterone is produced when you're feeling independent, can do, Superman, I can do it all, that kind of a thing. Estrogen is produced when you go, I need help and I can get it. I can ask for help and get it is one of the most powerful estrogen stimulators. I can reveal my wishes, my needs, my emotions, my thoughts, but we'll just focus on what your needs are. But how to get a woman who's so tough and strong and independent in touch with their vulnerable feelings. You play this game. It's called Genie in a Bottle. For 20 minutes, this is so much fun for couples. For 20 minutes, she pretends and she follows the rule to be powerless. She can't do anything for herself. And for 20 minutes, she has to ask him to do things. How many women cannot ask for help? How many women cannot admit that they need help? You see, it used to be women knew they needed help. No, I don't need help. I can do it all. So what help do you need, women? You need help to come back to your female side. You need help to come back to happy. You need help to come back to what love is. Do you know what even love is? Most people don't even know love. First, men have written books called Love is an Action, and it's not even a feeling because they've never felt it. And women feel love is complaining to your partner and complaining about them and sharing everything negative inside of them. That's not love. That's throwing it on them. What is love? It's trusting, it's accepting, it's appreciating, it's asking for help, it's being vulnerable, it's making the man in your life a hero. That's a love. We don't even know what love is when I talk with people. And when I tell women what you have to do to support a man to feel good, they go, oh, that's so much work. That's so much work. Why do I have to do all that? That's so complicated. And what, do you have so sensitive feelings? Why do I have to do that? I said, I'm not asking you to do anything. I'm asking you to learn how to love. So here's Genie in the Bottle, learning how to ask for help. Then we can learn how to ask for help in other situations and give up criticizing, give up complaining. You know, you complain only when you're stressed. I'll give you a quick example of that. At my house, I bought this very expensive white rug, all carpet, the best carpet you can buy. And there was a party and my dog threw up right on the carpet and I couldn't get that stain out. It's not terribly bad, but it's right before the door to the kitchen. Every time I walk in the kitchen, I see that stain on the floor that I can't get out. Now, whenever I'm in a hurry, I notice the stain. If I'm not in a hurry, I don't see the stain. That's a woman times 10. If she's stressed, she sees the stain. I can't change the stain. She's irritated, annoyed by the stain. She focuses on imperfections. And this is biological. I'll get into the biology of that, but I want to finish. I went so far down that rabbit hole, didn't I? COVID, Genie in the Bottle. So for 20 minutes, what she does is she's helpless. She can't do anything. She has to ask for help. And so she says, honey, would you go upstairs and get the oil and give me a foot massage? That's what some of my couples love doing. He says, and he, on the other hand, has to be like a genie who says, as you wish, as you wish. Always as you wish, or right away. I'm so happy to do it. When did you ever hear that for a man after 10 years of marriage? It's kind of like, or maybe I'll do it later. 20 minutes, fast reaction, and that stimulates estrogen. Fast reaction, but she has to open up and invite him in by saying, I need help. So would you do this? Would you make dinner tonight? Now you can't even eat the dinner without him feeding you. Would you feed me my food? I used to do this in my seminars. It was so great for women to get in touch with their resistance to depending on someone. Depending on someone is the biggest estrogen stimulator there is. That's why women go to doctors way more than men, because part of why they get better is because they went to a doctor to ask for help and their estrogen goes up. So she's so happy. The women come to my office for counseling and therapy. They go up just because they're asking for help and they can share with this guy that they're not complaining about. You see, if they complain to their husband, he'll get defensive. But if you share to your therapist or your coach or your friends, They're not going to try to change you. So you feel safe to reveal what's inside, and your estrogen levels go up. And it's not like you do that all the time. You just have to be able to anticipate being able to do that to find your balance. But women have to know when they're out of balance, they're dissatisfied, they focus on negativity, they feel overwhelmed, they can't relax, and they can't have orgasms, period. Put it right there. That's like the best thing of a vitamin D, that romantic thing, is having a monogamous, special, tender, caring relationship, the feelings of tenderness, not this tough bullshit, I'll say whatever I want. No, it's tenderness, it's caring, it's making someone a priority in your life instead of just your wife or just your husband and ignoring them. Learn what it is that men need most that you can give them honestly and authentically that will boost this testosterone. And I know exactly what it takes to boost my wife's estrogen. These are the things. Once we learn this, we have a solution to this new challenge of women being stuck on their female side. Another symptom is stress, feeling overwhelmed. Think about it. I'm overwhelmed. I have to do, I have to do, I have to do. You know what makes me a man is I have to do. You see a bunch of rich cats. I got plenty of money. I don't have to work. I don't have to do any of this. I don't even charge for this. It's all free. But I know I'm making a difference and I have to do it. I schedule myself. I'd rather just hang out, watch TV, relax, have a beer, be happy. No, I know for myself as a man, I have to keep working. There has to be something have to do. So I can't let myself go to that easy female side, which is let other people do for me. And that's what you see with these tyrants of men who have all this money, is they don't have to do anything. They don't have to earn approval. They don't have to work for it. It's all too easy for them. Once you have money, you're just the lazy and you just want to have fun and you become what used to be called playboys. Can't even make a commitment, can't stay committed, don't have the energy to serve people. All you think about is yourself and what you want. What is a playboy but a boy who was grown up by a rich father? He never earned it. And I'll tell you, I'm making a ton of money now in the, what is it called? The market. You don't have to work for that. That's the easiest thing in the world. You sit in front of your computer and you know the system and you do it. That's not real work. I like it. I like the money, but I have to do real work, work that you have to do. You have to overcome. That's what masculinity is about. When life gets too easy, you get old and fat. And if you have a fat belly, what you have to know is it's making estrogen all the time. One of the functions of fat is to make estrogen. And in a man's body, when you're exposed to estrogens from the xenoestrogens, or you're making too much estrogen, your body doesn't make testosterone. Sends a signal to the body, don't make testosterone. So it's become common knowledge that 35 men's testosterone levels go down. Are you kidding? That's men who don't understand how to build their masculinity. They want to go easy now. They're no longer aspiring towards more. You have to understand what masculinity is, and you have to culture that. And women have to understand what femininity is, more now than ever before. You see, we used to have a culture that forced men into masculinity and forced women into femininity, but it's too restricting. Our soul is bigger than that now. Now we're free. We can be both masculine and feminine. But if you're stressed, then you know as a woman, you need to work on your female side. You need to learn how to support your female side. If you're a man, you have to learn how to rebuild your masculine side. And there's so many things. I just gave a few of them. You know, in this book, Beyond Mars and Venus, 400 pages. What is that? How many pages? Well, it looks 400, but really it's not. It's 348 pages, detailed what you can do as men to rebuild your testosterone and you're not dependent on your wife. And for women, how to rebuild your estrogen, progesterone, oxytocin without depending on your partner. And I promise you, that means you get all your vitamins for hormonal steroid balance without depending on your partner. Then you are a breeze. You are easy. You're a delight. Man can make you happier. That's the man's job, make you happier. Okay, question.
Yeah, Chris asks, do you truly feel from your experience that behavior can completely replace the need for taking bioidentical hormones?
I have worked with, I think there's always a case where you might need to take bioidentical hormones. It could be the case you're a single woman. It could be the case you don't have the relationship skills to get the support you need to come back to your feminine side. It could be that you're impoverished and you don't know how to make enough money on your own to then attract the right man for you. So I believe that women should be making money. I think that's very important. That's their male side. But they should also know how to balance that with their female side. What I see a lot is women taking bioidentical hormones who are burnt out from being on their male side. and they need to take hormones, which we know could have some risk associated with it. And for some women, it's a nightmare. So for some women, it's heaven. I know for some women, it's heaven. And that's if you have a really good doctor and you're getting all the right tests. But my answer is change your mindset, change your behaviors, and give yourself extra nutrition. So let me share my screen with that, which is my extra nutrition that I promote. And it's not the only great nutrition in the world, but there is a picture of my superfood shake that helped me reverse Parkinson's by giving me optimal brain function. So I have optimal brain function. This is the book I'm talking about called Beyond Mars and Venus. Times have changed. Our relationship.
I'm not seeing it yet.
Oh, you're not seeing it?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try it again. I clicked on that. Oh, I forgot to say share. Very important. There, the Mars-Venus Wellness Solution. This is what helped me regain my brain power. And I'm into so many supplements. I could give hours talk on different supplements, but this is my foundation. And then it makes all those supplements along with behavior work better. That's my book, Beyond Mars and Venus. And this is a free course everybody can get. Go to my website, marsvenuscourt.com, and learn how to be more masculine, how to be more feminine if you're a woman. Get the course, get the questionnaires, get the summary statements, because this is a trance state. I have so much material just overwhelming you to get you to wake up that you are suffering because of you, not your partner. And so the only way you can get to that is to learn something new, because I believe most people think they're doing the best, and therefore it looks like it's their partner's fault. And when you listen to me, you realize that what you thought was the best was actually the worst. Okay, when you give more to a man, you make him lazy. You train him to be lazy. You give more than you're getting. You're actually giving, thinking you're being so loving, you're poisoning him. And men, you just sit back and let women do things for you and you don't do stuff for her, you're poisoning her. One of the ways we poison her is when she talks about her feelings and we tell her you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't feel that, why are you feeling that way? And we don't do the little things we did in the beginning, because we all started out doing little stuff and it made her really happy. Then we make this mistake thinking, oh, well, now I'll give her the big stuff. That will make her even more happy. We'll buy a new car, a new house, all these good things. That's not what builds estrogen. It's the little things you did in the beginning are more powerful than the big stuff. And that's what men have to relearn. But that's not logical, because big stuff makes us happy as men. How would you know that consistent expressions of affection and warmth and kindness and gentleness and compliments and hugs, all these things have a function in the dating process to generate estrogen in her. So she wants to have sex with you, and she wants to have sex with you. You want to marry her. It used to be you couldn't have sex until you wanted to marry a woman. But now everywhere. And then if you can't get a woman, you can just go online and you do this pornography and ejaculate there several times. You now become addicted to that. That lowers your testosterone and inhibits your ability to fall in love with a real girl. You might like her as a friend. You might feel affection towards her, but you can't get an erection. And that's happening with 21 years old who are impotent because they did too much pornography. This is poison. We're poisoning ourselves. And women with their vibrators are poisoning themselves. How can a man ever satisfy you if only time you have an orgasm is doing it to yourself? Statistics show that of the women in America that I've read the studies, I don't have any doubt, because I ask anybody that comes to me for counseling, they're not having sex maybe once a month or something. Is it as great as it was in the beginning? No. For me, it's gotten better and better and better and better and better. That's how it can be when you learn the sex, we still have the share up. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to have it up all that time. Yes.
So if somebody wants to follow your program and really get into it and change their life, what percentage of people who would have otherwise done hormone replacement don't need it anymore?
I don't have statistics on that. I have clients, I don't see thousands of people.
What's your scientific wild ass guess?
Well, if they actually got into my program, they'll never need hormones again. They'll make them.
Okay.
Now let's talk about the challenges there, which immediately come up for women over 50. They went through menopause thinking they had to take estrogen when they could have done maca. They could have done 3 Chinese herbs that I recommend at my website. In 2 days, the hot flashes are gone. These are all well tested out natural solutions to help balance estrogen production in a woman. If she's had adrenal burnout, it will take a little longer. She needs to do some help, nutrition for the adrenals to rebuild her adrenals. So I'm not just, you can't just think behavior is going to do it. You've got to get your nutrition into your body in a form your body can utilize it to help this to work. So it's adrenal burnout that causes all those problems. And then she goes through menopause. The eggs aren't producing the estrogen, but she doesn't need to make so much estrogen to have orgasms at that point in her life. She just needs to have the wisdom of how to get help and support in your life, balanced by her strong masculine side. But if she's jaded and burnt by not knowing how to get what she needs in relationships, she gets to this place a lot of older women are, which is, I can't trust a man to do anything. I'll do it myself. You see them driving the car. They don't even trust their husband to drive the car. Okay. They're doing everything themselves. They're taking care of him. They're the nurse for him, not knowing that they're just pushing themselves on their male side and secretly resenting it, or maybe in denial, whatever, but she's not happy and fulfilled. And they're not having sex anymore. And everybody stops having sex. But I know women who are my people who are 78, 75 years old, 85 years old, having orgasms every week. You can have orgasms as a woman as long as you're not making too much testosterone. You don't make the huge high levels of estrogen. It's not necessary. You make the right balance of estrogen and testosterone. But when you're making testosterone all day long and you don't know how to ask for help, you don't know how to be completely transparent with your thoughts appropriately, with your feelings appropriately, then your body opens up and your body starts to flow again. But that takes good relationship skills. And unfortunately, 40 years of no relationship skills takes a while to rehabilitate. But if you take hormones, might be a good thing if you have a really good doctor, and it'll give you a reminder of what good hormones feel like. Then you start tapering off as you begin using these tools, but more importantly, start using the nutrition. For me, I have the super minerals for men and the super minerals for women. And those super minerals, is it still on? I should probably turn it. I lost track.
Screen is off.
Oh, it's off. Okay. Yeah. I do super minerals, which immediately lower stress levels and start creating hormonal balance. We're mineral deficient. As soon as you start having chronic stress, besides adrenal burnout, you have a deficiency of minerals in your brain. So there are orotates, different mineral orotates. I have particularly my all-time favorite that everybody should be doing so it regenerates your brain and you can get older and think better. And that's lithium orotate. Lithium regenerates gray brain cells and white brain cells, increases brain connection if you're using your brain. And this is like the cheapest supplement. And of course, everybody goes, oh, lithium carbonate. That's what doctors give, which is toxic. It's purely toxic. So it's a scare tactic. Nobody ever needs an antidepressant again, particularly as they're moving into that profession, if they started doing easy to digest proteins, which is what my shakes are, which is it's milk protein, but from cows. You can't digest cow milk mostly because cow milk is 90% casein, 10% whey. Mother's milk, which made our brain, is 50% casein, 50% whey protein. If it's a little boy, it's more casein. If it's a little girl, it's more whey protein. And so I balance shakes with proteins that are non-denatured, not heat processed, but like mother's milk, not like cow milk. The second element of the proteins is that most people have such impaired digestion, they can't digest proteins and convert it into amino acids for the brain. Well, I figured this out and nobody's doing it. I keep telling people, nobody else is doing it. Put enzymes in the protein mix. Then what you do is put water in it and let it sit for 30 to 45 minutes and it converts into peptides, fresh peptides from nature, all natural. It goes right into the brain better than any amino acid supplement I've ever tried. And it immediately begins restoring brain function for children, for adults. Your memory gets better, but you also need to have the minerals because if you've been chronically stressed, you're depleted in minerals. So yes, rather than doing hormones, I would clearly get that you can do so much with your brain and with lowering your stress levels. And then the other side of this is, you know, we've been so toxified, as Susan did a movie called Toxified. You know, we're just so inundated with toxins, which also throw our hormones out of balance, but they also destroy our gut microbiome. And so my favorite probiotic is a product called Bravo yogurt, homemade yogurt. You make it yourself overnight. You've got a week or 2 weeks supply. Take a tablespoon every day. It's got 43 different strains of probiotics. It's proven to be the most powerful probiotic. My shakes have been proven in Swiss laboratories to be fully 92 to 94% digested. Any other shake, any other protein, any other steak, any other meat product, only 20 to 30% or 20 to 25% digested. And the rest, your body has to waste energy trying to get the toxicity of it out. Here, you get right to the brain peptides. So that's how you restore balance in your body. And there's a wonderful product, I call it the Koreans approached me because they got this product. Studies show that it takes away menopause symptoms. Studies also show it also takes away, PMS for women. But they focused their research talking about that. And they came to me to put my picture on it. So my picture is on that, but I didn't invent it. It's called RX for Women. And it's such a good product. And I had to test it out with people. It works so fast. So for hormonal balance, don't take hormones, make hormones. And you may still need to take hormones because not everybody's going to do everything I suggest or eat the diet that I recommend. Yeah.
Okay, I got a question here from a woman who says that she's already messed up her relationship and went to the masculine side, and the man ran away, and she wants to work it out, but he didn't. And so what's your general advice on somebody who's entrenched in a behavior pattern that's dysfunctional like that? Is it better to have a workshop with you to kind of reprogram everything in a particular context, or can she just kind of read some of your books and figure out a program all on her own?
If you go to John Gray, Mars Venus on Facebook, there's 80 hours of me talking. You want to change your brain function, listen to me talk, go on and on, 80 hours and nothing's repeated. I've written 28, 29 books, and I've got 5 more in that I've never even written. This is unbelievable information to blow your mind. And what she should do, by the way, is to get him back if she wants that. And maybe she doesn't know, but maybe she sees. And that's the point of this knowledge. Anybody comes into my office realize that they're the source of their problems, not their partner. Their partner, you can see they're also a problem, but that's them. Anytime you try to change your partner, blame, criticize, induce, free sex, whatever you do to try to manipulate a man will create him pulling away from you. And anything I do to try to manipulate a woman into not feeling what she feels, okay, will cause her to shut down to me. And so what we have to learn is how we contributed to our problems. Our partners do, but if you change what you do, you will get a different result. Now, if you listen to my stuff, even tonight, you could go back to that man and you could write him a note and you can say, I listened to John Gray talk and I realized I messed up. I blew it. You know, I did this and it was wrong. 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 And when you say to a man, I did this and I learned I was wrong, then he begins to feel hope. And hopefully my message gives you hope that you can see I gave more than I was getting. You see, what women do naturally is they get a reward in their brain when they receive a lot of love and then they give it back. Let's say I do something really nice for you. You naturally want to do something nice for me back. So whenever a woman gives, the message her brain gets is that I received. But if you don't receive and you feel empty, your brain goes, oh, you should give more. So now you give more, but it's not from receiving. And if you give more, because when you give, you're producing testosterone. You're balancing your testosterone with the high estrogen. Everything is balanced. So what women will do when they're not getting what they need is they think, oh, I'll make him happy. I'll do more for him. And when you do more for him, you're giving more, building up a foundation of I'm not getting enough. And just that motive, I want to give to get. So in terms of able to connect with him, a practical thing would be able to realize I made mistakes. Don't tell him his mistakes. That's not your job. Let him know your mistakes. And there's so much more than I can share. I got 90 hours of this stuff. This is a revolution in thinking and feeling and health and vitality and intimacy and love and sex and all those things. Everything that we've been taught before, fake news. Throw it out. Throw it out. It's created a mess. How could it not be? How could it be right for the new people that we are with our new expectations? Stephen.
Chris, go ahead.
Okay, John, you are such a riot. I'm getting so much fun out of you. I just discovered you, I don't know, online, I don't know, 6 weeks ago maybe. And I've known about your work forever, and I'm so happy you're doing the work you're doing. It's quite revolutionary. And I love the fact that you were with Maharishi for so many years. I also studied with him.
Oh,
so,
Jay Gurudev.
Awesome, Jay Gurudev, yeah. And I
You
live
know,
in
the great
Iowa
thing
City,
about
so it's very
COVID,
close to.
the great thing about COVID for me is I don't travel anymore. You know, normally I'm traveling in China and Russia and all around the world I travel. I do get some good meditation time in there, but now I get to sit in my bathtub every morning. I get up at like 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning for all the way to 10 o'clock, and on days off, all the way to 6 o'clock, I get to meditate. Because see, that's
In
really
your
the
tub?
secret of, what's that?
In your you
In the
meditate in your
bathtub.
bathtub?
Yes.
But
yes.
isn't the posture just uncomfortable?
No, it's much, I have a big bathtub. It's what happens is I sit cross-legged, and if I sit for 6 hours, 10 hours cross-legged, it will hurt my knees. You know, I do have, who can sit straight up for 10 hours? So when you're in a bathtub, it's much easier to do. But also, you see, a bathtub, water generates a pure frequency. Walking in the woods generates pure frequencies. And when you meditate, you resonate with the environment you're in. That's why if you're in a prison, meditation could actually be sick for you if you're really good at it, because you start to merge with the oneness of everything you're around.
That's so funny, because after I learned to meditate, I thought they could put me in prison and I'd be happy because I would just meditate all the time.
That's what I thought too, but no, you would not be happy. It's negative vibes everywhere. It's like to meditate, the better you are at meditation, you become one with the universe. Everything dissolves and you feel this oneness and this unity. And at that time, energy is flowing through your body and everything, but you're going to resonate with what's surrounding you. So for women, I recommend, this is regardless whether you meditate or not, always have fresh flowers in your house, ideally in the places where you spend. Because women by nature, estrogen is a merging energy. Testosterone is a detachment energy. So women are way more affected by their environment than men are. And of course, that's why you need flowers. That's why you need beauty. You need to be surrounded by order. And men don't see it all, you know, unless he's more on his female side. Then he can, if he can balance. I love flowers. I always have flowers. I got 7 gardens. I got gardeners to make it, you know. My wife used to do it all. But which I just mentioned my wife in past tense. I didn't know if I was going to bring her up. She passed 2 years ago. And I feel very fun and joyful now. And I've gotten through the stage where I'm wailing 8 hours a day. My love for her is so deep, but you know, it's opened me up to more love. That's the beautiful thing. If we know how to grieve, and I know many people, part of this group, you've lost somebody that you loved, somebody that you depended on, someone who depended on you. And I can't imagine a bigger trauma. I've been through a terrible divorce 40 years ago. I went through, and I was young, so I thought, yeah, I'd never find love again. It was very traumatic. My brother committed suicide. My dad was found dead in the trunk of his car from a hitchhiker who robbed from him. My mother died of accident of the poison in the whatever it is, the gas that gets produced from the heater. She died from that. So I have a lot of tragedies in my life. I've been ripped off by people, actual fraudulent criminals who came and ripped me off of money. I've been sued for millions of dollars for fraudulent things and have to pay lawyers. I have a mixed life, I'll tell you, but I'm happy throughout it all. It takes me down, but I know how to get back up. But the most devastating thing for me of all of that is the loss of my wife. It is, you know, an example, just when you feel somebody else in the pain you felt, it always is healing. And I remember when I'd be rushing home from the airport after she passed, because I'm always rushing fast. And I asked myself, why am I rushing? I want to get to see my wife, you know, and my house is just the same. I want to see her. I want all those things to help me get in touch with those feelings till finally I can embrace, you know, embrace my feelings without rejecting the feelings. See, pain, and this is irrelevant to everybody because pain is stress, and people are losing people now, and people are dying as we get older. And it's traumatic to lose someone who's a part of you. So I want to explain that briefly. I haven't written a book on that, but Freud talks about it, and it's called something called a need integrate. Most people don't know this. They know a lot of Freudian stuff. A need integrate. What it means is we all have this need for love. We may not articulate it that way, but we want to feel appreciated. We want to feel respected. We want to not be rejected. You know, we want to feel that other people think we're wonderful. We want to feel approval. We want to feel that people care about us. Those are all our need for love. Okay. So we have this built-in need for love. Now, if I get in a relationship and I get that need fulfilled, I no longer need love. I need my partner. You see that the brain changes, and suddenly you don't need love where you can get in a million different ways. You suddenly need it from your partner. Your partner, you need your partner. And so there has to be this period where the brain has to rewire itself. So I no longer need my partner. And there's a mechanism that I teach in all my books on how to let go of attachment. There's a process. It's your emotions that allow you to let go of your attachments. It's like, think about, when you want something, you can't have it. What's your first human reaction? Well, I'm sad. I'm afraid. I'll never have it. I feel guilty. Maybe I made a mistake and that's why it happened. I'm angry. It shouldn't have happened. See, these are natural emotional reactions that happen when we don't get what we want and what we need. And they're automatic. And the way you heal those reactions is you don't suppress them. You embrace them and always go from the negative emotion back to gratitude, forgiveness, love, appreciation. Always bring it back. So you're rewiring your brain to link from negative emotions to positive emotion, and positive emotion neutralizes negativity and heals all wounds. So I can cry and be upset thinking about my wife, but I no longer feel the pain. Okay, it's just the pain is healed. I can talk about any of these things, but particularly my wife, it's still so fresh after two years. Just to hear somebody who's missing someone, I immediately go into, I'm missing my wife too, and I feel so alone inside. But the other side of the healing is you've got to retrain the brain, which thinks, I can't have what I want and need. You see, she's gone. I need her. Well, I can't have. That feeling, that experience of I can't have is what causes our misery and suffering. So while you're processing your emotions, it's a juggling act of also reaching out and getting what you need. And that means filling up with love and support and replacing the kind of love and support you needed from your partner, which is called vitamin D in the example I gave earlier. So after about a year, then I started having a girlfriend and I started having lots of sex. Now, certainly my children wouldn't want to hear that, but other women often think, how could a man love his wife so dearly, he can be with another woman? Because men need sex to open their heart even more. And my girlfriend, she lost her father. And so she understands loss. So I can cry and she starts crying too, because she relates to those feelings. That's healing. That's getting what you needed from one person. You have to start getting it from another. And that's why women typically if they do start a relationship again after a divorce, statistics show it's about 9 years average, if she does it at all. And men within 3 years, they're married. They know what they need. They need a woman, because it's a woman's love that opens us up to love. But women can get love by loving people and friendships and whatever, but they're not going to get their vitamin D. And that's very, very important if they want that. I'm not saying we all have to be perfect and be having sex into our 90s. I plan on it.
Muriel?
Yes. I have met several men who do not know how to cuddle, and I certainly did not know how to teach them. Do you have any clues?
Well, yes, I do. My wife taught me how to cuddle. I thought it was the funniest thing. I said, so we're going to lie here and do nothing?
Well, the two that I'm most thinking of, they could not slow down.
Yeah, that's right. That's testosterone. See, if a man has low testosterone, he's always seeking to increase it by creating more danger, more stress, more obstacles. That's one way to do it. Now, anytime you're in danger, if you're a man, your testosterone will start to go up and then it will turn to estrogen, but it will at least get this pep of energy he has. So, but cuddling, see what cuddling does, it reduces testosterone. Cuddling produces oxytocin. And oxytocin reduces testosterone. And that's why oxytocin is proven to lower adrenal cortisol levels in women, because it raises estrogen. Oxytocin is anything that makes you feel safe. And the beautiful thing about a woman is her body will produce oxytocin if he touches her in a non-sexual way, when she feels held, when she feels touched.
Well,
when she...
see, no, I'm not feeling like that would, I felt comfortable, I trusted them, but they could not slow down. It was really weird.
You're talking about sex?
No, before sex.
And what did that mean? he couldn't slow down. He drove his car fast.
No.
Cuddling is
Yeah.
slowing down.
What is slowing down?
Well, so they would be like fidgety.
Like what?
Fidgety.
So
Oh, okay, he has
Fidget.
problems. He has ADD. You know, he has his problems without a doubt. I'm not talking about solving his problem. It's your problem that you need to learn. You want to be cuddled. You can explain to him how you need cuddling, and you have to do it. See, you have to not make a man wrong for it.
I
You give.
tried.
Let me
In fact,
finish.
I
Let me
had to
finish.
grab his hand and hold.
Go ahead, John.
Okay, just let me finish. Try take this in if you can, which is you have to have an understanding where you have an understanding that women and men are different. That's the most important thing. Then when you have that understanding, then you can take it to the level of hormones. And you can say, you know, honey, I'm just so stressed out in my life. My mind is fidgety. I'm always busy, busy, busy. I can't stop thinking. And I read this book and it said that if I make more estrogen, I can calm down. And if I make more estrogen, what helps me to do that is a hormone called oxytocin. So if you massage my feet with oil for 10 minutes, it helps produce oxytocin in my body. Now, while you're getting what you need, play the game I said, which is the genie in a bottle game, you'll learn how to be less fidgety in your mind and start to relax more. Then he will serve you because you're rewarding him with great appreciation and joy and delight because you're actually getting the estrogen you need because he's touching you in a non-physical way because you asked him. Then what happens is because he's successful in giving you something that actually makes you feel good, his testosterone will go up and his fidgety, in most cases, will become much, much less. I don't know if he's got what disease he's got or whatever, but I do know that it will have a positive effect on him. But men do not cuddle by nature. Some men who are more in touch with their female side, maybe they bonded more with my mother in some cases, but most men don't cuddle, and most women complain men don't cuddle because cuddling is not fulfilling a primary need that men have. Men have the primary need of sex. Sex produces testosterone. Cuddling produces oxytocin that lowers testosterone. So that might be helpful if you can explain these ideas, but often men don't want women to tell them what to do as if he needs to do it. You need to tell him, I have a problem. I have this oxytocin need, and I heard that if you do this for 10 minutes, I become more loving, and I realize I'm not so loving. I'm more demanding than I used to be, and I want to be more appreciative of you instead of resisting you. Take responsibility for your side of it, and you'll always bring out a man, the best in a man. And for men, take responsibility for your side. You know, my marriage, I'll give you an example of 23 years into the marriage. I was feeling very confident. We went from what I'll call a soulmate relationship to a twin soul. Twin souls truly understand each other and find that what's in her is also in me, what's in me is also in her. So you start getting to where you have great sex, but you also have harmony. See, most couples in the soulmate place, the soulmate is you're attracted to somebody who's different from you, and you haven't yet found that difference within yourself. Okay, so there's a polarity of differences creates attraction. But at a certain point, you mature into a very harmonious relationship. And it's not that you denied your feelings to create harmony. You're able to empathize, understand, feel compassion, and support each other's feelings. Then you graduate into a twin soul relationship. And of course, a lot of people here, we know the traditional thing is a role mate is what I talk about in my book. The role mate is where you have the old-fashioned stereotypical roles where women do feminine things, men do masculine things. And if you have harmony, because you're both getting your needs met, which I saw in my parents, my dad made good money. My mother had 7 children, lived in a safe neighborhood. She's happy most of the time. My dad never got angry at her. They had a wonderful harmony. I didn't know people fought when I was growing up, but they didn't have sex anymore after a while. So they made friends. They were friends, good friends with each other, but they didn't have that passion that so many people want today. And if you want that passion today, that's when my material is so, so helpful. and you get a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more. This is not overnight success. It's easy, but you have to be patient. You have to go slow with one step at a time, realizing that you will always get more if you make changes in yourself, as opposed to focusing on he or she has to change. Yes.
Is the genie in a bottle exercise something that Muriel could do?
Well, yeah, I recommended that. That was how to get him to do the foot massage thing, is you do the genie in the bottle thing. It's a playful thing, just 20 minutes. You just say, you know, honey, you're wonderful, but I have a problem. My problem is that my estrogen levels are low as I got older. And now I need stimulation. And I found out that if I play this game, I can be a more loving partner to you. Would you play this game with me? And then you give them the rules. I don't know if she heard the rules of the game, but the rules are very important.
I heard them.
Okay,
I have
good.
a question. So you mentioned earlier about how people are expanding and becoming more balanced, having masculine and feminine aspects of their personality both manifest. And my hypothesis is that I need a guy who has, you know, more balance, who is more feminine and masculine, because I'm, you know, sort of bi gender in my psychology.
Yes. So let me just point out to you that if you're not in a happy relationship and you're a woman, you're too far on your male side, always. And so you don't need a man to be more balanced. Actually, you need a man that you can use to grow into your feminine side. That's all you need. And what happens for women is that the men who are actually more on their female side, if you're too far on your male side, you tend to have attraction to them, but it goes away very quickly, because there really is no biological chemistry of two opposites coming together in harmony, complementing each other. So what you need is to focus on, there'll be sensitive guys who are more interested in you than you're interested in them. And so you use them in those situations to practice these new skills, which men are happy to do. They just want to know how to make you happy. And so that's, you see, what women don't know is that men are only unhappy in relationships when their wives are unhappy. That's it. You know, women come to me in counseling and when they want divorce, and they say things like, I give and I give and I give, and I just don't give back anything. She's dissatisfied with him. He's selfish. He's indifferent. He's not fulfilling her. And what do I hear from men? Almost the only thing a man will say if he's not arguing with her, but I take him to the side. What's the bottom line here? He says, John, no matter what I do, she's never happy. Why should I stay in this relationship? That's the bottom line for men, because you know what happens when a woman is happy? A man's testosterone goes up. When a woman is unhappy, his testosterone goes down. Simply put, happy women have lasting, loving relationships. I saw with my mother, I helped thousands of women find their ability to be happy without depending on a man. And then it's so wonderful that I have the power, and only me has the power to make my wife go to all the way 20 times, twice as much estrogen. And that's through physical intimacy. But she doesn't want to have physical intimacy with me unless we first have mental intimacy, where she knows how to express her authentic thoughts and a man will hear her. Now, how do you do that, women? How do you communicate your thoughts and a man just argues with you or disagrees with you? Because you're trying to change him with your thoughts, or you're trying to give up your own beliefs in order to please him. What you have to learn to do is how to be 100% authentic with what you think and what you believe and what you wish and what you want in the presence of a man, without trying to change him. You see, men only argue with you is when they sense you're trying to change them. Now, he doesn't have all the skills I teach either. So if he disagrees with something, he'll try to change you. And what do you do at that moment? You go, oh, well, that makes sense. I understand why you say that. Tell me more about that. All right, well, that's a good idea. Just give him a little love to raise his testosterone. 3 magic walk-away phrases, women. This is your power in a simple way. When a man talks, watch this. Whenever he pauses, say something like, that's a good idea. Or say, wow, that makes sense. Or another one is, oh, you're right. Amazing. You're here. Show a smile. Be happy to see him. All those things produce testosterone. You can't do that if you're unhappy. That's why you have to find your happiness first, and then know the skills, how to bring a guy up. And then the guy, you know, the monkey brain behaves so poorly, it doesn't make this work. But if you're monkeys and you can't talk, and I step on your foot, How do you communicate? I stepped on your foot. If I don't know, I stepped on your foot. And you keep stepping on your foot. You have to communicate. But women communicate like monkeys. They just make noises, loud noises. And if you don't listen to me, a bit louder noise and a louder noise. Keep your voice down. Be gentle. Be loving. Be kind. We're like monkeys. We fight at each other. Don't. That doesn't work. But as long as you think it works, you'll keep doing it. So you've got to own, this is my mistake. Of course, we're all going to make mistakes. Nobody knows how to do this stuff. It takes years in the making. And I'll tell you, I was giving you that example of my wife at 23 years. I said to her, honey, how do you rate me as your husband? Because everything was like great sex, but harmony, cooperation. We figured each other out and we could be authentic. And it brought out the best in me. She did. And so we had this conversation and I said, how do you rate me as a husband? And she said, oh, John, as a father to our children, I can't imagine a better man or father. As a husband, you're not perfect, but you've given me the greatest gift any woman could ever want. I said, what's that? And she said, John, I know I can say things and do things that sometimes really upset you inside. And when you get upset, I've watched for 23 years, you stop talking, you go to your cave, you do some magic, and you always come back with more love. I know no matter what I ever say or do, I can never push you out of my life. You will always be here for me. And there's no possibility of my ever leaving her until she left. And even still, she's with me in my heart. That's because we could fulfill each other's needs. I didn't have to be perfect. She doesn't have to be perfect. But the love overcomes that. And what I learned from that statement she said is the greatest gift, men, you can give to a woman is to create a safety. We are the protectors. We are the guys that go into battle and risk our lives for the women. We are the ones who kneel before her and say, I pledge my life to you. And we lose touch with that part of us because we don't have these skills. And we lose touch with that part of us as we become more feminine. You can't find that selfless soldier inside of you that doesn't whine, doesn't complain, who's strong, who's willing to do the difficult things to create a nicer, more comfortable, safer life for her. And that's who we are as men. And we've lost that. Not that all men ever found it. My dad had it, so I know what it's like. And so I have it. We need to see it. And over one of my books I have up here is called The Boy Crisis. 52% of the boys born today don't even know their fathers. They are the shooters. They are the shooters. They're the ones who are taking the drugs. They don't have father role models. We need to change that. That's a Boy Crisis book. Teaches you all about what's happening to boys today. But it's all bottom line, low testosterone. Yes, Stephen.
I think I wanted to acknowledge that I think what you're doing is giving people a chance to move from reactivity to responsivity by teaching them all of these kinds of skill sets.
I appreciate you saying that so much. If we look at just the DNA in our brain, most of you are scientists, so you know that the primitive part of the brain, the instinctive part of the brain, we have no control over that to a great extent. You can't just think if you're a man, erection. You can't just think, let the rivers flow if you're a woman. This is all instinctive. Instincts control your digestion. It control your heartbeat, all these things. That's the unconscious mind, programming, and it's the DNA of snakes, dinosaurs, heartless. You know, if a man is threatened into scream, fight or flight, he will kill. I've never killed anybody, would never want to kill anybody. But that part of me, that potential is there if that part of me controls. You know, when they say men have to have lots of sex with different women, that's men who don't have a brain up here. You see, the monkey brain is the more emotional part of our brain. It's the DNA of monkeys. The only part of us that has human DNA is up here in the front part of the brain. And that's where you can learn to respond, but it needs to be educated. It's the only part of you that can learn something new. But unless you learn something new, you'll continue having these automatic reactions from what you saw in your parents, whether they did it or not, what was inside of them. It's in your genes. Like I have my mother's nose, her lips, my father's eyes. I have all their stuff inside of me, all their programming, and where'd they get it from? Their parents, back to great, back there, monkeys. It's all inside of us. I've never seen a couple not behave like monkeys once you understand it. I saw the presidential debate, 2 monkeys up there, 2 8-year-olds. These are like monkeys. Imagine living with that. Well, that's what happens in America. And that's what's going on more and more now. We need to wake up and realize we are the source of our problems and stop blaming our partners, but not suppress our feelings about it. Learn to own our feelings, process our feelings, learn to express the feelings that make our partner feel good, and process on our own or with our friends or with our therapists or with our coaches to always come back to feeling love. And that's something that women can now do so much more efficiently if they just have the knowledge. Because in order to let go of negative emotions, you have to be on your male side and your female side. You have to have a certain objectivity to say, okay, it feels personal, but it's not personal. Let me say that again. Somebody comes and shoots me the bird. I look at him like, okay, that's your problem. I don't take it personally. I don't take negativity personally because I don't deserve that. If you say some positive stuff, I'll take that personally. See, this is what we have to learn to do is masculine side is detached, not personal, and feminine side is personal. And so learning how to be detached and personal at the same time, man, that's fantastic. That's balancing your masculine, feminine side. So when women realize that all of their emotions and men realize all of your negative emotions are based upon inaccurate beliefs and thinking. It's all irrational. All negativity is irrational. All. And so if you're having negativity, you're in a place of irrational reactivity, which is based upon conditioning back to being a monkey where you have no reason or logic. And if you can come up to reason and logic, you can activate your pineal gland, and then you can experience the truth, which is that you're a spiritual being living in a physical body. And that's the gift that I received because I was the personal assistant to Maharishi. I was a celibate monk for 9 years. I was able to develop my consciousness and then bring it into my body and able to bring it all the way into the body through great sex, but you can't get it there without love. You've got to learn how to love. You've got to learn how to respect with your mind, with your heart, how to love. Then what you have is a lifetime of passionate monogamy. All right, I'll talk some more.
Well, we have one question here about explaining the genie in a bottle thing, but I also wanted to add a twist to it. Is there a reverse version of that that men can do to connect to their male or female sides?
No, that's for heterosexuals. Now, if you're a gay couple, then you'd have to take turns when they're to both your male and female side. But if it's a man, what men need today more than anything is to be successful in serving women. That's the bottom line. That I can make you happy, that you need me. Think about this world. What's happened in this world is men are out of work. Look at the concept of what's happening everywhere. Besides we're sick, besides we can't talk to each other, men are out of work. Why are we out of work? Women don't need us. They can do it themselves. What's the motivation to work hard? It's like women used to need us, and that woke us up. It wakes a man up to his power when he feels needed. Look at a fireman. He sits around doing nothing, masturbating, reading porn, exercising. At least that's something good. But sitting around basically in the fire room, and actually they do a lot of drugs. The firemen and the policemen are the highest incident of drug abuse. But so they're sitting around waiting and waiting because they're not busy doing their thing. And then the fire happens, they come like Superman. Just like a soldier, all the soldiers, they come back, they have addiction. Not all, but so many of them have suicide because they're having addictions. Because the brain changes with high stimulation. See, danger is one of the biggest dopamine stimulators there is. And when you have high dopamine levels, it desensitizes your dopamine receptor sites. And now you depend on high dopamine levels, stimulation, danger, in order to even feel alive. So I've worked with soldiers and PTSD and all this stuff. They come back and they say, I got to get out of this place. I want to be out. And then they come back and they're bored to death because they're like drug addicts who now don't have that high dopamine stimulation. That's why I have my Mars Venus super minerals, superfood shake. Get those nutrients into the brain and practice abstinence from dangerous things, but doing things that are healthy for you that also produce testosterone, like meditation, like therapy, like muscle building and so forth. But you've got to get the extra nutrients. Therapy is not enough. You've got to take those extra nutrients to rebuild your body because you deplete it when you're stressed. You get adrenal burnout. You can't make the testosterone that your body needs to make. So, this is all possible with the knowledge. But the point I'm making is that we get addicted to high dopamine stimulation. I wanted to say for all the old guys out there, I know you're doing your porn. And when you're doing that porn, you're getting that big dose of dopamine that's so high, it desensitizes your brain. Also, anything that's very exciting will desensitize the dopamine receptors in your brain. That's why I got Parkinson's. In the 90s, wherever I went, everybody recognized me. Everybody thanked me. 18 Oprah shows, 3-hour Barbara Walters special on me. How many people have done that? You know, just massive amounts of publicity, Forbes, TV Guide, all those things. Everybody, John Gray was everywhere, all around the world. Even now I go to China, I've got universities with courses on Mars, Venus. I have whole institutes, Mars, Venus. This has become so big. So all of that money was coming in, all that happening in the 90s. Boy, that stimulated a lot of dopamine, desensitized my dopamine receptor sites, and boom, I now have early Parkinson's symptoms. And when I healed that, then what happens is, I realized, oh, normal brain function, I don't have ADD anymore. See, for men, most men today are ADD. If you're doing porn, you're definitely got ADD. It creates it. You're looking at your phone all the time, you've got ADD. You're basically playing those video games, you've got ADD, and that's proven. But it's not like a treatment that you need drugs for. No, you don't need that at all. You need to stop masturbating, number one. 2, you need to get off your addiction, realize it's an addiction. And all the porn players plus the video guys, they all have low testosterone, they get a big belly. Sitting there doing nothing in their lives, playing a game. You got to be a man. You got to do things to serve people. You got to use your body. You got to use your muscles. Using your muscles actually builds testosterone as long as you don't do it too much. If you're a big muscle builder, usually you have low testosterone, and that's because you use it all up making those muscles. So you got to find the balance place. And everything is about balance. And I just wanted to make a point that somebody was saying that, now, what kind of a man do I need because I've got this male and female side? No, you don't. You're way on your male side. You need to come back to your female side. And any man that's more interested in you that you're interested in, date him. Don't have sex with him. You control the relationship. You practice asking for what you want, sharing your thoughts and feelings. And that's the time when men are most willing to make adjustments for you, because they don't feel like they own you yet, or they're married to you, or they've had sex with you. Once they have sex, they're pretty rigid to change. But you can, using my techniques. But when you're dating, you set a boundary. Oh, I'd love to have sex with you. I just need to go slow. I first have to open my mind. I need to be seen, heard, free. Then my heart opens because you do things for me. You take me on dates. You plan things for me. I can ask you to do things for me to make my life easier. Now you're producing lots of estrogen. Then the rivers will flow down south. Otherwise, you do what everybody else does and put on, if you do have sex and you're a woman, you got to put in oils and everything. Your body got the oils. You shouldn't even think about intercourse. Say your mouth is filled with water, your saliva, and then your breasts, feel so good to be touched. If your breasts don't feel good to be touched every day, this is a Taoist practice. I studied 10 years Taoism sex. I studied 10 years in Indian Tantra sex. And you massage the breasts every day. Get that circulation going to where if a man touches those breasts after you feel aroused, they feel really good. It needs to slowly go down your body. And then you get to feel like a woman. You get to get out of your mind. It's what the French call a little death. You become mindless. Women are trapped in their brains, worrying and thinking and all that. Get into the body, get into love, get into pleasure, get into desire. To feel the desire to have a man be there for you, inside of you. That is really taking the spirit all the way into the body. What a potential we have at any age. I'm telling you, I know women in their 70s that are having this experience. They learned in their life to a great extent not to have adrenal burnout by being on their male side too much. But 2, now they're in a place where they feel I can have, and also I can need another person. I can get what I need. But you have to have those skills. And that's what the old-fashioned skills don't work anymore. We've got to change everything up in our minds. We're waiting for the next question. I'll give you a reminder. I'm practicing using my share screen. There is my book, Beyond Mars. I'll share it. A little practice here while you're getting the question. That's my website. This book, you can order it through my website. It'll just take you to Amazon, you'll get it. But here's free course, how to get everything you want in your relationship. That beautiful woman there, that's my daughter, Lauren. She is a master of what I teach, a delight. And we have hundreds of free blogs that you can watch at our website. And then here's my superfood shakes, my wellness solution. I have a wellness store there where I have a 4-minute video, 5-minute video on every condition you can have that's not life-threatening. That's when you need more advanced knowledge than I know. But what I know to be the case is that when you handle the little stuff, for most people, the big stuff doesn't come up. And those are those super minerals right there. There's a super cleanse drink, which is a probiotic lemonade, which is really good to restore gut function. Although I really think most people could do with a 3-month dose of Bravo yogurt. It's a little hassle to make, but once you learn how to do it, you do it over 3 months and you restore your gut function. Your body becomes a new body. It changed my life to do Bravo yogurt. And that's the superfood shakes. They're delicious, but they also have the right balance, the human balance of proteins, whey protein, casein protein, the right balance. And they have the enzymes, but really you want to get the results. Don't drink it right away. You've got to let it sit for 30 minutes. You could put it in the refrigerator and have it first thing in the morning if you want, but you've got to let it sit for 30 minutes. It's got to cook. Everybody's taking these protein drinks and not cooking them. They're not getting anything from it. It actually produces, you go on a sugar-free protein drink, that undigested protein turns to carbohydrate, and now you get blood sugar issues. It also turns to toxicity that you have to evacuate out of your body. Most of your energy of eating goes to getting rid of the undigested proteins. I only eat 1 meal a day. I don't need to eat. Why? I got the cosmic energy flowing through me, but I have pre-digested proteins. I don't have to spend any energy on protein, on digesting my food, although I sometimes eat food.
Susie?
Okay, John, I just wondered if that is the same. I had your original version of the isogenics protein mix, and I wonder if this is the same thing, or is it totally?
I've told isogenics over and over, tell people that if they take that isogenic shake and put room temperature water, no ice, and add the water and let it sit for 30 minutes, you'll get 100% more benefit, 300% more benefit that you can measure, and maybe infinite, because if you put ice in a superfood shake, it doesn't digest itself. It's hard to digest. So it's room temperature, put the water, and yes, they were the original manufacturers of my shake. I like their products quite a bit. But what I did is made some additions to that shake, which made it more high end. And then they finally decided not to work with me because people would always say, well, why should we do John Gray's shake and not our shake? And
yeah.
I'd say, well, mine's more expensive. And then they said, we have to make them the same price. And so what we did is we made my shakes smaller so they could be the same price.
I remember that. Yeah. They have a very fine protein shake, particularly if you let it sit in water. And the same thing with mine. I'm coming out next year with a second generation Mars Venus shake where, it's 20 years ago when I formulated this, and it's time for a change. There's new things I've learned that I can put in it. So that's coming along. What about the yogurt? How do you get the yogurt you were talking about?
Yogurt, go to my website, just do a search for Bravo, B-R-A-V-O.
Okay.
It's at my store. And Bravo yogurt, I have videos showing you how to make your homemade yogurt. It's very simple once you learn how to do it. It's several steps, and I demonstrate it. Now you've made homemade yogurt, and we all know that homemade yogurt is like the best probiotic. Everybody knows that. But this is a probiotic that's made from 41 or 43 different strains of different probiotics, where no other product has that. And even if you take really high-end probiotic capsules, the best ones have more probiotics. That's all there is to it. And they're refrigerated, and they work really good, but it works better when you make your yogurt. Now, what the research has shown is that the yogurt is potentized massively in terms of the amount of probiotics in it and the different variety that generate from it. If you take 2 tablespoons of the probiotic yogurt and put it in your Mars Venus shake before you put room temperature water in, and you put the yogurt in it, and you just shake it up with your hand, and then you let it sit and incubate all together. And the research has shown, that was done in Switzerland on it, that then even the probiotic yogurt becomes more and more potentized because it also activates, helps digest helps break down the proteins. And also there is some sweetener in it. Pretty much if you put the yogurt in it, it takes away any of the sugar which is in the shake. Although I have a little sugar molasses in the shake because, when people go sugar-free, they still eat fruit. They still eat some candy bars here, and then they say, oh, I'm sugar-free. No, they get it in different places or with their bread.
And what I know to be the case is if you have some insulin resistance, you're not going to absorb your proteins efficiently if you don't have a little more insulin. So that little bit of sugar in there gives a bump to insulin production to deliver the minerals and the proteins into the cells. Because insulin is not just to deliver sugar into the cells, it delivers nutrients into your cells. So if you just have something that's completely plain, it doesn't get into your cells. So and most of us have this blood sugar issue anyway, which I'll just throw in here for all of you people who have blood sugar issues, because we have lousy diets throughout our life. It happens. Is two things: reverse diabetes or those type symptoms of imbalanced blood sugar that have been proven. One is berberine. So I have a wonderful product at my website, berberine and banaba. Banaba is from Ayurvedic, berberine is from American Indians. And it not only does it improve brain function, but it also stabilizes blood sugar better than any of the drugs you could take for blood sugar issues. And that's proven. Second is I have something from Dr. Nieper, and he invented this, which is 2-AEP. It's called membrane support. And it see, when you have insulin resistance, too much insulin being produced, too much sugar, which produces too much insulin, then your cells become insulin resistant, and then your sugar can't get in, then you get high blood sugar and you get brain damage. Okay, so when you have insulin resistance, those cells are damaged from too much oxidative stress produced by sugar. So now what you do is you put in these 3 minerals, and with, it's Dr. Nieper's invention, it's membrane support. I don't want to get too complicated with it. You can read about it, I talk about it on my website. But membrane support restores the membranes so that now your body can absorb the nutrients and it doesn't need the high levels of insulin to get some kind of effect. So you want to start balancing your blood sugar with berberine, and you want to start healing with the 2-AEP, which is 3 alkalizing minerals bonded to a substance that your cells are made out of. And that's an amazing product as well. I recommend it to everybody who has, if you feel tired after eating, that's blood sugar issues. If you're losing your memory, that's blood sugar issues. High blood sugar or high levels of insulin cause brain damage. They cause oxidative stress in your brain, and your brain cells start dying. Now you can grow new brain cells. Lithium orotate has proven to grow brain cells. That's all you have to do. Your brain will keep growing if you have your vitamins and nutrients and right support and the right hormone balance, and take lithium orotate. You actually have the substance that's proven to increase gray brain cells and white blood cells and white brain cells, connective tissue. How do they know? They put brain cells in a petri dish and add lithium to it, and lo and behold, they multiply. You can multiply. Nothing else does that. So although I have to say other things do, is if a man overcomes a challenge without stress, he will produce more brain cells. Intensity, overcoming challenge. And for women, if she trusts again, finding forgiveness. See, that's your challenge, women, is to come back to accepting and appreciating what you do have and wanting more in small bits. Wanting more in small bits. We're all blessed. You live in America. What's there to complain about? Come on. This is such an amazing place. You know, and of course, California, we're in heaven here. Even though this crazy politics is going on, go for a walk in nature and recognize, my God, it's all around us. We are so lucky with the weather we have, and other people don't have the weather, but there's always good stuff in this world. But if we focus on the negative, because we're in fight or flight, we always focus on the negative, then what we do is we start creating negative around us. You have a bubble. You can create your own life. Your life is your life. And I've been through hell in my life, and I've always created my own bubble. And when I didn't, I picked myself up and did again, because I had the good fortune of parents who didn't blame each other, and a philosophy of life that we are capable of creating. And I'll thank my mother here. The greatest gift I ever received is a woman who lived in a state where she felt, I can have what I want. I have what I need. It's that feeling of I can have. She would always teach me when I would cry and be upset about things. She said, now, Johnny, we can't always get what we want, but we can always get what we need. And if we think we don't have what we need, we're looking in the wrong direction. And that's the inspiration for my book, How to Get What You Want What You Have. I talk about those 12 or 10 love vitamins. If you're not getting a love vitamin in your relationship, focus on the others to bring you up, to feel happy. I can have this, I can have this, I can have, look at all the things we can have. Live in a world of abundance where you are today. And then your desires will attract more into your life. When you want more, and you may get a little bit, if you have what you need, you appreciate that little bit. So maybe a quick story. Oh, question, go ahead.
Well, Chris has been wanting to ask a question for a while, and we're getting some noise on her line from the lack of Zoom feedback. So Chris, can you unmute yourself, and then when you're done asking your question, mute yourself back again?
Thank you. Yeah, is this a good time? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. This is such great information, and there's so much great information on your website too. I've really appreciated it. And I wanted to mention that I did your cleanse. I had gained 15 COVID pounds since March. So I did your cleanse for 2 weeks. I had to stop it because I got an invitation to go on vacation with my daughter. So I had to stop and try to gradually get off of it for about 3 days before going to normal eating, but lost 10 pounds, and that was pretty awesome with your shake and your minerals and the Japanese tea.
Oh, the Japanese tea is fantastic.
Yeah.
It's called Chowa. Chowa tea is the best. It's the best thing for your blood sugar, for energy. Thank you for telling people about that. I forget to say, I drink Chowa every day. I start my day with a cup of coffee. I love coffee. I gave it up for a while, but then I love the taste of it. But then I drink, because I don't eat except dinner. And but then I have the Chowa tea several times during the day and a lot of water. Most of the time we're hungry. We're just thirsty.
Go on with your story.
I forgot where I was. I don't plan anything. I just say what comes into my mind. If you can remember any word I said, I'll come back to it.
You were talking about your mom, and she gave you the greatest gift by letting you know that if you can't always get what you want, but you can always get what you need. And if you're not getting what you need, you're looking in the wrong place.
Right.
That's the
I
last
just
thing.
finished that story. That was a beautiful story. That was her gift to me. And, you know, a lot of men have impatience with women because they feel insecure that I can't make a woman happy. And that's because he didn't have a father who knew how to do that. And he didn't have a mother who knew how to be happy. And I want to say this because I know a lot of older women are single, and, you know, they get a divorce and they have children, and they feel, you know, I have to make up for another partner. He's not here, so I need to give more to my children. And so you neglect your vitamin R, your vitamin D relationship. So as a noble act of sacrifice, or maybe because you don't trust men anymore, you decide to dedicate all your love to your children, which is a big mistake. Children need to see mom happy, depending on other people to make her happy, and not me. I can then not feel the burden of her problems. So this is like a really, really key thing. And but thank you for sharing about. Let's see, what did you share about? I'm sorry, I forgot.
Better take more of those minerals.
No, I'm just in a flow. I'm in a timeless state. I can talk for hours and hours, and it seems like a minute. I kind of go, where did the day go? But I'm not channeling anybody. It's all in my books. You know, when I first started writing, because writers are like this, particularly novel writers, but also I would go into seclusion and I'd start to write, because I'm a meditator. I'm non-physical and physical. So what happened is voices would come, all these voices, because particularly they wanted me to write their ideas. I'd say, excuse me, I only do my ideas. Go away. So then I stopped hearing the voices. But actually a lot of readers, I know I talked to fiction writers, and they'll say the characters are talking through them. You know, they'll hear these characters in Irish voice. And I heard this Irish voice and another voice and another voice. And I said, hey, I'm writing this book. I don't need any help. I'm just letting my higher self come through me and my own experience. The thing about my books is that they're really filled with stories of, I'm the eternal student. I learn all the time. If we could all realize that if we stop learning, we get old. Aging is when we stop learning, is when we continue to learn. It's such an important thing. It's not the only thing, but it's key that we keep asking questions and continuing to learn.
I got a question here. I think that maybe the way the question is asked is perfect for you. How to convince a man to want to marry you after dating for 4 years. Feels pressured to marry, and it has caused a lot of conflict.
Yeah, that's a big problem. Men today are so not powerful. They're insecure. What they feel deep inside is they're not sure that they can stay with you and you'll be happy. They're terrified that I'll be stuck with a woman who's not happy. And so he needs a lot of messages that he has the power to make you happy. And depending on his self-esteem, that will help to build his self-esteem where he's confident enough to make a commitment. And so I'll tell you the story of how I helped one couple, done many, and I also go into great detail on many options on how to do what I'm about to tell you in my book, which is called Mars, Venus on a Date, which is how to get to the point. You have to see everything has, you can't give a woman an orgasm, for example, until you do a lot of certain foreplay into certain points in certain places and do certain things. You build the energy up. If you rush commitment of marriage, he won't go along with it and he'll feel controlled and you're rushing it. So back off, particularly because you've been rushing it. You've already built a level of resistance. And let's just say you got upset with him and he's not wanting to marry you. He says, okay, I'll marry you. Do you want that? No. So you have to be strategic. This is all about being strategic to support him because he's on his female side. This is what's happened today. You know, basically, if he never had sex before, he'd want to marry you to have sex. That's how women did it before. Culture did that. They made it inappropriate, unable to have sex unless you marry a woman. And then they made you a really bad guy if you had sex with a prostitute. And so now everybody hates prostitutes who actually in some parts of the country, they help handicapped people, you know, people who can't find a relationship, whatever. Those men need to have sex as well. And there are sex workers who are happy to provide that for them. They need that. Men need sex, just like women need love. We're so prejudiced against this sex drive in men. It's just such an important thing for masculinity. And we don't have this positive feeling. And why we don't? Because men have not been able to provide the safety for women to double their estrogen and go, I want sex. See, you don't know how important it is because you have never had that desire that comes about when your estrogen levels peak. And imagine living in a high state of estrogen most of the time. That means you can go just like that. I mean, it's amazing how happy that is. And not that you have to be having sex all the time. That's just one way of feeling close and intimate. Okay, so now how to get him to marry you. Back off from trying to change him. Oh my God, even if you did get him to do it, it'd be like you made him do it. Yeah, you don't want that. So back off, you made a mistake. You didn't let yourself get to the stage. So there's stages that you have to go through. And I outline these in great detail in the book, Mars, Venus on a Date. They look like attraction, then doubting and uncertainty, then monogamy, then sex. Okay, if you had sex too soon, you never made it through the bonding stage. So that's a problem that happens today. So often you have sex right away. Men don't have to go through that place of I got to earn it. And then when you earn it, you bond. So he hasn't fully bonded with you, but there's a flip side to this. It's never just one thing. It's the arguments you have. It's the dissatisfaction you have with him. It's the wanting more and feeling you're not getting what you want. And it's already shown up with that one statement. And I see this all the time with women. They don't know better. They don't know how to get over to their female side where they're happy with what they've got. And then they want a little more and a little more. So you need to help build his confidence that he can make you happy. So a little story about when I first learned this. A couple had been together 9 years. He loved her dearly. And he always told her, he says, I don't want to marry you because I feel you deserve a better man. Okay, it was very clear. It's his low self-esteem. He loved her so much, he felt, you deserve a better man. Now, what's behind that is actually the fear that I'll never be able to make you happy. You deserve somebody better. And where that came about, I asked all these questions and figured this out. They had gone on, and when he wasn't there, I do a lot of private counseling with the women to help her strategize. So I found out they had gone on this tour in Beverly Hills. You know, they didn't have a lot of money. And they went on this tour of Beverly Hills to see the houses that were rich and famous. And because she just happened to say that, I said, now we know the problem. You went on the tour and I said, when you saw those beautiful houses, what did you say? Oh, they're so beautiful. They're so amazing. Imagine, honey, you know, having a house like that in a swimming pool. Oh, that would be so much fun. Because women like to imagine and have fun. And of course, he heard that and he knows I'll never be able to make the money to have a house in Beverly Hills and have a swimming pool. There's no way I'm going to get there. That's out of my league. And he saw how much that made her happy. And he wants to make her that happy, but he felt like I couldn't do that. So she deserves better than me. But underneath, she deserves better than me. That's just a surface thought. Inside, it's the fear. And it's always the fear inside of men, which is the fear that I won't be able to make her happy. And I'll be stuck with a woman who's not happy. Maybe his mother wasn't happy. Maybe he's been divorced with an unhappy woman. being blamed and so forth. Whatever his trauma is, he's afraid. And so what your job is to let go of trying to change him, find more happiness in your life, take away any desperateness, any push to change him, and give him confidence. So what I did for that couple is I told them, it just happened, it was a long time ago when that movie Down and Out in Beverly Hills was on. So I said, I want you to ask him to take you to that movie. And then after the movie, I want you to say this to him. Just say, oh my gosh, Beverly Hills, it's so beautiful, but I would never want to live in a house like that. Who needs that kind of stuff? I like the simple life. That's all you have to say. He proposed to her a week later. He just needed to hear he could make her happy. He loved her so much. He knew he couldn't provide that. Now, you know me, a 34 years soulmate relationship with my wife, twin soul relationship. I can't have asked for anything better. Now, where did that come from? When I dated Bonnie, I drove this old car that wouldn't even start. You had to a clutch and a gear shift. And at my first date, I had to park it high on the hill to have it go roll downhill, pushing it and starting it because my battery it just didn't start. It was an old car. That's the man she fell in love with. I tell you, if a woman could love me that way, easy to love her. And so I wanted to marry her. This is like, and I'll tell you one other example. These are important things for you to understand how to get a man to marry you. So I had been with Bonnie, I'd been married before for a couple of years to another woman. And that woman was just control. And when I drive, I get talking and then I stop thinking about where I am and I can easily get lost or take the wrong turn. So that's just part of who I am. Absent-minded professor, kind of. Like I have no idea what time it is or anyway. So with that dynamic, she really wanted to go, Bonnie, I was taking her on a date. We're getting a getaway, romantic getaway. Also it was a seminar that she really wanted to hear these people talk. And that was like really important to her. I said, well, I'll drive, I'll take you. And I'm driving her to Southern California and I took the wrong turn and we ended up on a sign that said Nevada, a certain number of miles. So I took the wrong freeway. We're not going to make it on time to this other place. It's clear. I pulled over the road. The sign was right there saying Nevada. It's clear that we were going to miss the whole evening. And she was sitting in the front seat of the car. And my previous wife would have been outraged. I was so idiotic. How could you take the wrong turn? You did the wrong thing. She'd get all upset with me about that because it happened many times. I'm an absent-minded guy. And so when I pull over the car, I said, well, Bonnie, I don't know exactly where we are. And we might be a bit late. And she says, and clearly we were never going to get there. She said, I don't know where we are either, but this is one of the most beautiful sunsets I've ever seen. And right there inside of me, I went, yes, this is the woman I want to marry. That touched the nerve. And I still remember that moment. That's when I wanted to marry, because I'd just been with a woman who was negative and complaining and criticizing, couldn't do enough for her. And clearly my side of it, I was way on my female side. Okay, so there was imbalance going on and she was way on her male side. So I understand that dynamic. And here's a woman who I did the same thing and she's like looking at the positive and I went, that's for me. And that gave me the confidence that I could make this woman happy. And that's what allowed me to settle down. So men who don't propose, two things are happening. They feel insecure. They need more messages. They can make you happy. And two, they need to be able to give you orgasms. So it's sort of a personal thing. I'm not going to ask you if you have orgasms, but if you're not having orgasms, take a class on how to have orgasms. There's lots of books on it. And there's women's genitalia, learn about your body and all that. Take my class. It's online. I've got an academy of classes. One is on secrets of great sex. And you'll learn how to have an orgasm and why you're not having an orgasm and that. But men need orgasms to bond with you. Orgasms double his testosterone. They also release a hormone called prolactin in his body. If he has sex with a non-orgasmic woman, or he has sex masturbating, or he has sex with a porn, he will ejaculate. His estrogen goes up, his testosterone goes down, and he doesn't make prolactin. If you have an orgasm, his body will release prolactin and keep him from wanting other women and want you more. And that's as long as he's not masturbating during the week. The Japanese research, did I mention the Japanese research? I don't think so.
No.
The Japanese research shows, and they did it on young virile men, right? Athletes. And they said, okay, we're going to do this. We want you to have sex on Saturday night. And then for 6 days afterwards, don't ejaculate, don't masturbate, don't have sex again. So they measure after sex, their testosterone went down 50%. That's why men will tend to pull away. Distance increases testosterone. So he pulls away. Next day, it's about half. Then it will start to build slowly a little bit during the week. And suddenly on the 7th day, without ejaculating, his testosterone levels will double. Double. That's why mine are basically 50% higher than when I was a young man, because I don't ejaculate. I even know how to have sex and not ejaculate. That's an advanced technique. I don't have that course online yet, but that's known by, the ancient Taoists did this, the Tantra, the high spiritual people all do this. And I am a high spiritual person. I've been meditating 50 years. I meditate hours, but I couldn't have that ability if I was ejaculating. To find your spiritual prowess and power, whether you're a man or a woman, and women, to find their spiritual power, they need to have orgasms, and men need to have orgasms without ejaculating. Then your testosterone doesn't go down. And then you bond with your partner because you have a conditioned response that in her presence, I double my testosterone. If every time you have sex with a woman, your testosterone goes down, you will tend to associate a conditioned response. If I see her and my testosterone goes down, but that's another woman, it doesn't go down. However, if you can go for 6 days without ejaculating, then on the 7th day, your testosterone level doubles to her. So then what's called counter conditioning. So every time you have sex, you're conditioning your body to be less interested in your wife because your testosterone goes down. But if you go for 6 days without ejaculating, then your testosterone doubles, and all of the young men, it doubled. We didn't do it on older men. Generally, I think from my own experience, it's the recovery period. Basically, if you're older, you might need 9 days or 10 days of not ejaculating. And of course, the best thing is learn how to be aroused, have sex, give her orgasms, and don't ejaculate, which is one of my sex therapy techniques. Just simply that, which is if you're not having orgasms and you're not even interested in sex, men, you got to rebuild your testosterone, learn about that, but also, and not take testosterone, you just become more estrogen. You take testosterone, you get man boobs, you become more estrogen. That's what happens when you don't make your testosterone. Prostate cancer, you're not making your testosterone. And so then, that's a whole nother story. We come back to a balance, lower your stress levels, your body stays healthier in most cases. I know Stephen's looking at those questions, so I'm stopping so that you can ask me a question that people are asking.
How about somebody raising your hand to ask a question, especially somebody who hasn't asked a question yet? This is a golden opportunity.
When it comes to personal things, it's hard for people to ask questions. If I was just talking nutrition and diet and whatever, there'd be a lot of questions. People love to, but when you're talking personal, it's a little tricky. Even just to say, I masturbate, should I stop? How often should I masturbate? Just stop if you're a man. Why would you ever do that? You're literally throwing your energy away. When you ejaculate into your wife, because you love her, and biologically you make prolactin that takes your sex drive away for other women and for her for a period of time, but your heart stays open. That's the prolactin. Prolactin in a woman causes her breastfeed, makes the milk come down. But for men, it makes your erection not come up for other women and only for your wife. And the most amazing thing is that when you actually are monogamous and your partners, you're both having orgasms and a man has double the testosterone, you can know if she's turned on because it will immediately, without her even saying, it will cause you to have an erection if you're a man. It's just like, oh, she's interested in sex. How do you know? You start getting an erection. Literally, your body knows, because we even have studies showing that when women's pheromones come out, it brings a men's testosterone up, or when men have high testosterone, it activates her pheromones. Literally, your partner's hormone levels will help balance yours.
What would you say about a relationship where a woman moves out after a long period and she's not sure she wants to be with her husband? Would you say that he lets her go, gives her space, or would you say that he shows her how much he loves her?
Well, both. You respect her wishes and wants, and you continue to gently persist in pursuing her. Don't just, here, let me give you a model from a movie where I first saw this and then saw it was an actual reality, kind of an old-fashioned movie where there's the guy and the girl, and he's falling in love with the girl, kind of a general Hollywood theme. And then he messes up. He does the wrong thing. And then she gets all upset and she walks out of the restaurant, and she walks out. And he's being a guy, knowing that if a guy walks out, give him space and he'll come back, generally speaking. But a woman walks out, an older woman says, "What are you doing?" "Well, I'm giving her space." "What are you, crazy or something? Go after her. Let her know that that's the most important thing in your life. And you're not just giving up that easy." But you can't control her. You have to gently persist, gently persist. I think there was a movie about 1,000 Kisses or something like that, where it's doing the little things. That's it, continuing to do the little things. And the first step is to respect. You know, if she wants to take her space, say, "You know, the last thing I want to do is control you. I realize I have made so many mistakes. Maybe my anger controlled you. Maybe my indifference made you feel that you couldn't get my love." And I'm just saying maybes because I don't know what your problems are. But you identify, you look at my books, you read any of my books, you'll see 50 things you've done wrong. Then you go to her, gently persisting, applying what you're learning, doing the little things that raise estrogen. Then what you do is part of that is listening to, apologizing for the mistakes you made. Not needy, not demanding her to come back, but we've had this time apart and I've started realizing how I have failed you, and I'm realizing mistakes I've made. And sometimes when a woman really wants to end and she's done, she's not even considering she's done, I still help couples come back together. But the master power is you go back to her, not with attachment for her to come back to you, but just saying, I realize I haven't respected you. And if that's what you wish, I don't try to control you. I realize that's my problem. But I want to sit down and have dinner with you and talk. And I want to share with you all that I've learned and know how it would have affected you, so that if I move on to another relationship, I can apply those skills, but understand that I want to be in a relationship with you. If you say, "What do I want?" I want you. And if you ask me, "Well, why do you deserve me?" Because I'm learning new things and I can apply them. And it might even help you, but it's what your wish is. I just know that I've been making these mistakes and I don't want to do it again. And so you drop that little line in there, it's subtly put in, which is that if it doesn't work and you don't want it, I will apply this with another woman. Just that thought also increases estrogen in women. There's some studies that show that if this is, there's things that have been shown, and my own experience is such when I work with couples who have these problems, is that if the woman knows that the man is with another woman, it actually can increase her estrogen. She's jealous. Jealousy is estrogen. So why does she get it? That's what I want. See, that's what you have to get. Why does she get it? That's what I want. So behind jealousy is a superficial emotion on top of I want that, and it's also I'm afraid I can't get it, and so I'm angry. So if I process a woman's jealousy, I can get her back in touch with her desire for him, and that is a big estrogen producer. Okay, she will. So, and I've seen it, and I've also seen in men, when a man knows his wife and is having an affair or whatever, actually makes him click into gear. If I get him beyond his anger and realize he's accountable for contributing to the problem, it's actually a big turn on. Just the thought that my wife doesn't have to be convinced to have sex is a huge turn on to a man. Because so many men, they feel like they have to jump through hoops to get her in the mood, and just the thought of her on her own without having a husband wanting to have sex is like, wow, that's in there. And that gives him more confidence that he could have sex with her. So it's ironic. This is why back in the 70s, even the 60s, all the women's magazines would say, "Hey, you want to bring more spice into your marriage? Have an affair. Have an open relationship. Bring more spice into your marriage." And it does. It also brings chaos. So the couple that wrote Open Marriage, they actually didn't have an open marriage. But what they did is research couples who did have an open marriage, and consistently what they found is that couples that had an open marriage decided not to. But they were glad they did, because they realized that that's not what they want.
Zora?
It doesn't solve the problem. The problem's always us, not our partner, not finding a new partner, looking inside, changing yourself. You will get different results.
Okay, Zora has a question.
Yeah, this is a very different topic than what you've been talking about, but I'm interested in your experience with Parkinson's, and I think you did some things to resolve your problems with that. And so I would be very interested because I have a friend who has Parkinson's and it's kind of scary.
It's very scary. And the reason I had to motivate myself to do research on it and find something natural that would help me, underline, it helped me, it reversed it. If I'm under a lot of stress and I don't get sleep, it does come back for me. Otherwise, it's just not there. It's the dopamine. I lost some dopamine receptor sites. Okay, that's what happens is when you have high stimulation. For me, it came by being a celebrity. Okay, it was just massive dopamine being produced all the time, desensitized my dopamine receptor sites, and then they start to close down, and then you have to rebuild them. So what I did, I'll just tell you the story of what I did very quickly. But I said, okay, involuntary shaking. Who does involuntary shaking? Well, drug addicts do when they go through withdrawal. So if you're going through withdrawal, you study what is doing withdrawal. It's due to high stimulation, closes the receptor sites. You have to take away all high stimulation in order to allow those receptor sites to open up. You also have to provide the brain with extra nutrition to allow the brain to rebuild itself while you're abstaining from the high stimulation. So, so basically I said, okay, so basically I've been like a drug addict on high stimulation, success, money, all that, happiness. I had my own jet. I flied around the world 18 times in my own jet, not me flying it. It had a bedroom, a living room, an office, the whole shebang, you know, and I took my family, my relatives on vacation, lived it up, okay? It was the good life, but too good. And then it overstimulated my brain. And having said that, I also had a concussion as a child that was rather big. So I was already vulnerable to that sort of issue. So I said, okay, I'm kind of like been addicted to that. I have to pull away from that. And I studied all these drug addiction programs, and I found one in Mexico with Dr. Hitt. And what he was providing was amino acids, pre-digested proteins, putting them in the veins, pre-digested proteins into the veins to help the brain go into the brain with IV drips. He also put some vitamins in there. He also did a little ozone therapy with our blood to help detoxify us. He secretly put in there, and he didn't tell us because he told me the whole formula and everything. And I didn't find out later till his assistant, after he died, his assistant told me what was also in there, which is NADH. Okay, so he was putting NADH in there. And I know the man who invented NADH, Berkheimer, he's a friend of mine. Berkheimer has Berkheimer, just from taking those little white pills of NADH that he makes in Germany, not the other ones they say are better because they're not, and he has all the research showing it, but his NADH, you just have to take a high dose. That's the problem. But he has his father did NADH IVs, and Parkinson's patients who couldn't talk, who could barely walk, within a few minutes of after an IV drip, they can walk and talk. You could see it on the video. It's online in YouTube, but it doesn't last. So, and also getting the IV drip with all the proteins, it lasted for me for about a month. Was it about a month? Something like that, about a month. And then my Parkinson's came back. And so I called him up and I said, you know, these drug addicts that go off of drugs, and by the way, I'm sitting in a room with 9 drug addicts. Heroin, one doctor who was addicted to OxyContin, a cocaine addict, a rock star addict, alcohol addict, a smoking addict, a sugar addict, all sitting in the room. These are real addictions. Every day we spent 3 hours on our IV drip, and every single person went off of their drug without any withdrawal symptoms except feeling tired. That's it. We just sat around, told stories, and that's it. And so you talk about going off of these horrible drugs, heroin, you give them IV drip. Anybody can go off of these drugs, give them an IV drip of NADH and give them all their amino acids that they need. And that's what he did. And I watched it happen, but it wasn't lasting. So then what I did is I created something. I went back and did it again. And it lasted about a month or 6 weeks, whatever. Maybe it was 3 months. I can't remember the details now for some reason. But it disappeared. And he said, yeah, a lot of the people, their addictions go away, but then they come back and it doesn't last. And that's because their diet didn't change. They didn't have enough nutrition on their own way. They were getting it through the veins, basically, the amino acids, some B vitamins, and NADH.
Okay, so what I then did after that, that's how I invented my superfood shakes. My superfood shakes kept it away. I never came back to it after I invented my product for me. And then I eventually started sharing with other people. And what it is, it's pre-digested proteins. Those are proteins, they're dairy proteins in a non-heated form. Okay, so if you heat dairy to a high temperature, it loses a lot of its potency of being a digestible. So it's undenatured whey protein and casein protein in human balance, not cow balance. Most people can't handle casein because they have too much of it compared to the whey. So I have a human balance of mother's milk, what it would be, of about 60% casein, 40% whey protein for men, about 60% whey and 40% casein for women. It all has to do with our biological needs for those two different, and I could talk about why that's so, but just simply put, men have more muscle mass, they need more casein, but they also need more dopamine. So now you've got the shake, now you've got to put enzymes in the shake so they can digest it. Anybody who has Parkinson's, anybody who has drug addiction has been living in a state of chronic stress. Now for me, I wouldn't say that my job during those years was chronic stress from the point of view of cortisol, because I was very happy and very confident, no anxiety, no stress. I overcame that 20 years ago. I had no anxiety in my life. So what I did have was chronic adrenaline. Okay, chronic adrenaline wipes out your adrenal gland. You can't do it all the time. And that's what men need to know, is be able to identify an adrenaline response and burn off that adrenaline very quickly. Otherwise it turns into cortisol, a little diversion there. So and men burn off adrenaline through physical activity. Women burn off adrenaline through talking about feelings, feeling I can get what I need. This is like really key factors of gender and adrenaline. All right, so back to the solution. So I created this easy to digest protein shake with some vitamins and B vitamins and whatever, and enzymes digesting that shake for you, because I wasn't digesting. I wasn't getting those amino acids into my brain. If you're in adrenaline, you don't digest. You can't digest your proteins if you're in adrenaline. I'm living in adrenaline. I was #1 best-selling author in America, #1 on the New York Times list for almost 5 years. Who's ever done that before? Nobody's ever done it. And nonfiction, self-help. Oh my God, it was like crazy. It was like I was on a high, but I loved it, but it was all adrenaline, and adrenaline inhibits your digestion. So that's what didn't allow my brain to cope with stress and deal with normal things. I started losing my dopamine function. Okay, so then I did the shake, and then I realized I also needed to do restorative minerals. I found the research showing that lithium rebuilds neural connectors, rebuilds gray and white brain cells. Okay, now I know in my case, I was more vulnerable because I had the down regulation of dopamine receptor sites. What I have found is those minerals, particularly lithium, upregulates those dopamine receptor sites, just like a person who has bipolar. What is bipolar? It's going to extreme heights and extreme lows. It's dysregulation of mood. It goes up and down. To stabilize mood, lithium is proven to be the best thing possible, except that doctors give lithium carbonate because they didn't have another alternative. And the only way it would work is to give 500 times the dose that your body requires of lithium to get it into the brain. So lithium, which we all need, and it's in food if you're eating organic foods, particularly beets, but if you're getting it in your food, then you don't need to take the thing. But basically, I think we all need to be taking lithium because we don't get that much in our food, and we're stressed. Anytime you're under stress, you deplete your body of lithium. Anytime you eat sugar, high stimulation of sugar, you deplete your brain of lithium. Lithium regulates mood. Give kids a lot of cake and ice cream at a birthday party, their moods go all over the place. Why? They become manic, they become crying, they become depressed, they become jealous. All that stuff happens after eating the ice cream and cake, which is why parents know you serve the ice cream and cake at the end of the party and send them home. You don't have children together with all that stimulation. So coming back to your understanding of the lithium is so key. Then what I found, and I've been the major promoter of lithium orotate. Dr. Nieper developed it primarily for headaches. And then he found that it was good for other things. And then I have found again and again that everybody, boys with ADD problems, women with overwhelm, women with stress problems, you start doing lithium, it helps, doesn't suppress you, it calms you. Your brain stops looping. Looping is a deficiency
of lithium in my experience of thousands of people who have used my minerals and gotten back to me. Now, then I found for some people, lithium stops working. And that's because their brain is functioning at a higher level and they're deficient in other minerals. So if you're at a low level of functioning, see, I'm a high functioning being. I can write for 18 hours. I've written 28 books, you know, I have love. I'm multi-orgasmic. That's a high functioning spiritual being on this planet. I need extra fuel, okay, in order to keep my brain going. So I take lithium every day, not the toxic doses. What toxic doses do for bipolar patients is because it's salt and because you're taking a way higher dose, it attacks your thyroid gland and your metabolism slows down and you have all kinds of health problems as a side effect of too much lithium. But it's not that the lithium's doing it, it's taking any good thing into your body and 50 to 100 times the dose is not good for you. It has a side effect. So people who actually take lithium carbonate, they feel, yes, I'm stable mood, but I feel nothing and I'm gaining weight and all this. That's because it's attacking the thyroid gland and they have imbalanced thyroid function as a result of taking too much of something. And then what I found is that once they started upregulating into healthier brain function, they were deficient in other minerals. And it turns out that there's, and I have a whole description of each of one of these minerals, but there's calcium orotate, magnesium orotate, zinc orotate, potassium orotate, and lithium orotate. Those four minerals help to are cofactors for lithium to do its job. Very quickly, when a neuron gets calcium, it stimulates dopamine. When the calcium is pulled out of the neuron, if there's magnesium inside of that neuron, then magnesium produces serotonin. So literally this is going on all the time with trillions of brain cells. Is they're having sex basically, is calcium's going in, calcium's coming out. Calcium goes in, there's stimulation, calcium goes out, and if you have enough magnesium, then you relax. So relaxation, magnesium, yin energy, estrogen energy, feminine energy, calcium, masculine energy. So you get this stimulation, relaxation going on all the time. Lithium regulates that process. Zinc is necessary. It was more zinc for men because you need, first of all, zinc helps protect the cells from toxicity, but also the men's minerals have more zinc because they need that to make their testosterone. The women have more magnesium because they tend to run very low in magnesium because magnesium helps produce serotonin, and because moderate stress produces a stronger emotional reaction in women, proven, then women deplete in serotonin faster. So you have more depression in women and you have more addiction in men. For men, it's more of a dopamine inhibited function. For women, it's more of a serotonin inhibited function. And Parkinson's is just too much stimulation of either side from high stress levels or high stimulation, too much excitement. You have to back off from your stimulants. You need to have pre-digested proteins. You need to have NADH. And when I talked to Berkheimer, whose father invented NADH, he did IV drips, and then his son invented that little white little pill. And they're rather expensive if you take the right dose. You need to go to my website, you'll read the doses. I have a wellness guide of hundreds of pages. Right now, I'm not exactly remembering, because I don't take it anymore, but I sometimes do if I find I'm not getting optimal function and everything, is the little white pills. Normally people will get, 5 milligrams, and they go, this didn't do anything. His are 20 milligrams. Even the biggest ones in America are 10 milligrams. And he says they don't really have that much NADH in them. His from Germany, and you can get that at my website and other places, the German version of NADH. And you don't just take 2, don't take 1, you take 4 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon. You're upping your dose of NADH, unless you want to get IV drips all the time. But he says getting 4 in the morning and 4 in the afternoon for Parkinson's, he has research showing it reverses early stage Parkinson's, just NADH. Now, what inhibits any of these things to work is you're taking the medications. As soon as you start taking the medications that are prescribed for Parkinson's, this is the tricky stuff, is that inhibits B vitamins. And your B vitamins can't work, then nothing can work. So as soon as you start taking Parkinson's medicines, your B vitamins don't function. And actually, if you take B vitamins and you're taking your Parkinson's medicine, it's bad for you. So if you're on Parkinson's medicines, you can't take vitamins and supplements the way you normally would to replenish the brain. So you've got to go one way or the other. It's a tricky thing. I talk about it in my videos. I had to cut them down because the FDA didn't like me talking about natural solutions to Parkinson's. So now I talk about, if you can read through the code on my website, it's natural solutions for optimal brain function. And I talk about what those natural solutions are. And I also give you a link to a doctor who uses supplements to also halt the production of Parkinson's just by using supplements. And you can't even, you have to be a doctor, you have to go online, all these things even to get his supplements now, because they shut him down because he was at least stopping the progression by having people go off of the medications that they give you. Because once you're on the medications, it's a downward slope. We all know that. They take away symptoms, but they constantly desensitize your brain function. So you're dependent on it until it's really awful ending. And I had that with a relative. So I understood. I didn't want to go that way. So it's finding that natural solution. Catching it in the beginning is really important before you start taking the drugs. If you're going to take the drugs, you can go off of the drugs. At my website, I recommend a doctor who has a whole school where he's taught 50 other doctors how to take people off of Parkinson's drugs in order to take supplements to halt it, and in some cases reverse it. But I look at that, it's just amino acid therapy and some vitamins is all they're doing. They're not doing NADH. They're not doing my superfood shake. And we were going to write a book together until they realized I'm going to get all the credit for it, I guess is why they decided not to do it. But what they wanted was to have somebody be a spokesperson for what they do, to tell people the dangers of taking the medications that doctors give you, because it is a downward slope. You cannot process vitamin B6 at that point, and you cannot make any brain chemicals without vitamin B6. It inhibits the function of vitamin B6. So there's so much more to say on Parkinson's, but that's the gist of it, is my basically Mars Venus Wellness Solution keeps my brain in optimal function. And then I have other supplements I take from time to time. That's my basic foundation. And also, you know, any man who's having Parkinson's symptoms should be careful about ejaculation. Ejaculation is deadly to men. Okay, it's a depletion of energy. It's a high intensity. So I remember seeing this old guy who was Alzheimer's in India, masturbating in the street. You know, he lost his mind, but he was still masturbating. You know, the instinctive brain was still going. That's why he has Alzheimer's. Okay, just addicted to masturbation. If men could just get this, and women using their vibrators or not having orgasm, they lose their femininity. Women have to have a balance of masculine and feminine in there. And I don't want to sound like that's the only way to stay healthy and grow old, because a lot of people stop having sex as they get old. And a lot of people continue having sex. And I know women that are having sex in their 70s and 80s, and they love it. And somehow they learned how to master their female side and their male side. And they usually have younger men, by the way. There's nothing like a younger man, not like in the 30s, you know, like in the 50s, will help to wake up your estrogen. And instead of some of these crotchety old guys that don't get erections and they just want to retire and not do anything, you can't do much. You can't get your estrogen up with those guys. So, and I say that also for men whose wives aren't interested in sex. You know, if I was married, my wife wasn't interested in sex, I'd be a big conversation about, well, we need to provide a partner for me. Doesn't mean I don't love you, but men need to have sex. I'm telling you, sex is like this big deal. If you're not having sex, your testosterone levels decline. And then you compensate by masturbating, which makes your estrogen even higher and your testosterone levels go down. And then you have addictions. So you're going to be addicted to sitting there watching football all day. Are you going to be addicted to watching Netflix all day? All these things of passive excitement stimulates over estrogen in men and lowers their testosterone. A little bit's fine. But when you come to all this addiction to ejaculation, it's a big problem for men. And I'm very lucky. Okay, part of my vitality is everything is because fortunately I was a monk in my 20s, and I learned I didn't masturbate. I masturbated as a teenager and had sex as a teenager, but for 9 years I never masturbated for 9 years. And that's how I learned how to do this, and why I saw the value of this, because I have all these amazing spiritual experiences. When if I ejaculate, they go down. And I do it again, they go down further. You need the fuel. You know, I'll tell you, a real celibate who's been celibate after about 8 years of pure celibacy, when I perspire, it smells like semen, a sweet semen smell. It saturates your body. You know, if you're a real monk. What I found out is the other monks were all masturbating. Some were having girlfriends. And they didn't have that. I could smell it. So there's a whole nother world out here for people. And these are like out of the box things. But thank you for your questions, Zora. It's such a big, big issue. But it's not just Parkinson's that this is correcting. We have different temperaments. It's dementia. It's Alzheimer's. It's all of those issues have to do on the ultimate level with chronic adrenaline burnout, and hormonal imbalance. That's what we need to recognize, is how far out of balance. And I want to emphasize again that after menopause, women can still make plenty of estrogen, enough to have sexual desire and lubrication. Okay, that's really important. Sometimes they have to do a lot. If they had children, they need to do pelvic exercises. Any good trainer can teach you how to do pelvic exercises. If you're leaking, you need to do pelvic exercises and strengthen your core. So there's exercises you can do for that. But otherwise, if this is weak, and often if you had cesarean, it's going to be weaker. So these are things that cut off women's energy flow down south. And it also can keep you from being on your female side. If you have a cesarean, energy is not flowing there, unless you do exercises to strengthen your abs, increase circulation, but it's not too stressful. I have a whole big issue. I see these women who are overweight struggling as they're jogging, okay? And they look like they're suffering. Anytime a woman is suffering, she's making testosterone, she's not making estrogen. If you're having a good time and you're smiling, you're making estrogen, and that's the most important thing. You can exercise and smile and have a good time. Thank you, Zara. Do you have other questions?
Well, we
No,
have a
thank you.
possible one from Tony. He had his hand up for a while. It's not up now, but Tony, you have a question? Can you pop in and ask a question?
Well, first I'd like to thank John Gray there. I just got heavily into your stuff. I've been watching like hours and hours and hours every day working. I do lots of hand work, and I'm like constantly on my Bluetooth, just listening, trying to get as much as I can. I've been through Men Are From Mars and Women From Venus. I've been through Mars and Venus on Date, and I just started Beyond. And I just started that. I got an Audible, and I just listened doing work. So thank you. Like, this is so much light. And I've just starting meeting someone, and we actually have been using some of this stuff, like some of this information, and it's been very different. Now, a question is, when you're talking about on Date, Mars and Venus on Date, you talk about the stages, and like how do you know, like, is there like a healthy timeline? Like,
yeah, there is one.
And then a second question would be like, when did you know that your wife was the woman that you wanted to marry?
Well, I was talking about that before. For me, it was the time when I was in the car and I felt like, oh, she's going to give me a hard time. She really wanted to get that lecture. And I took the wrong turn. And I said, I don't really know where we are right now. And she said, I don't know where we are either, but this is the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen. And she used to do this a lot. One time I took her to this awful movie. I picked it, and it definitely was not a movie that she would like. And I didn't even like it. And I wanted to leave, but she stayed because she was kind of like, well, let's see if there's some redeeming value in it. And after the movie, there was no redeeming value in it. And I was feeling kind of like shy, insecure, feeling bummed out that I brought her this movie. You know how you feel as a guy. And then I said to her meekly, I said, well, what'd you think about the movie? And really, whether I'm aware of it or not, I'm looking for some shred of salvation here. And she did it. She came through. She said, and she paused. She said, the photography was so fantastic at that moment when this and this had happened. And so my immediate reaction is, yeah, I did not write this movie. But I did film it. You see, men take credit whenever a woman's happy. So she let me off the hook. She understood I had a need to feel successful and not to push me down. And it takes a lot of education for women to get to that place. She really worked on her female. She was married before and did a lot of work on developing her female side before I came along. And the flip side, I'm at the movie theater, so I'm thinking of another story at the movie theater. And this is a mistake women make. Because remember, if women talk about negativity, it actually produces estrogen, but it will turn men off. You can also share feelings of frustration about other things that men aren't going to take credit for, and men can actually learn to listen and feel more connected to you. And that's an art. I explain that art in my books very carefully. But I was going outside that movie theater because that story just brought me to the movie theater. And I remember seeing something about the Joy Luck Club. And I never saw the movie, but all I knew is it was at the theater. And as we were leaving the theater from our movie, this other couple, and she was in her 70s and he was in his 70s, you know, so when you get divorced and you're starting over, you're kind of awkward. And I could just see this guy hoping that she was going to like the movie. And as I passed by, I heard him say to her, "So, what do you want to do now?" And she says, "You know what I want to do? I want to stand here and tell every single person that's the worst movie I've ever seen." And I watched this poor guy just go, the wind out of his sail. If women could just understand, men have feelings too. We need to be pumped up with appreciation, acceptance, and trust that we're doing our best and it's good enough. And women, we have to understand as men, those little things that pump the estrogen up, to acknowledge, create safety for her, to listen to her feelings, to not make her feel wrong. And there's arts to this. Otherwise, it's very, very hard. And you know, when I talked earlier about as men, if we're angry or irritating, we start talking, it will only get worse and she will shut down even more. So that's where we need to just take a time out or improve our communication skills. And that's where I talk about the love guarantee. And the love guarantee is that if you listen to a woman say things that would be normally disturbing to some men and you don't get disturbed, I mean, you practice not taking it personally, she will run out of things to say because you're not interrupting her and you're not trying to change her and you're not trying to make her wrong. Suddenly her estrogen levels will go up and she'll forget everything she was upset with you about and remember how wonderful you are. She's literally schizophrenic. That's women. And men are too. We love you to death. We want to be with you. And then suddenly we ejaculate. We're ready to be out of there for a while. I just like, okay, I don't want to be rude, but I need to go move away from you for a little while. That's low testosterone. Too much estrogen in men lowers testosterone. That's why you must, you know, what she needs to understand is the cave and also the rubber band. Because as a man, when your testosterone's up and your estrogen is not in balance, you want to come inside of a woman's body. You want to connect with a woman. You want to find that love, which will raise your estrogen up to your testosterone and you find balance. But love feels so good. You go to your female side, then too much estrogen gets produced by being too intimate with women over a period of time. Your testosterone levels start to go down. Suddenly you feel this need to get away. The need to get away is just to detach, to rebuild your testosterone doing testosterone producing things. You raise it back up. Your estrogen's now low. Now you want to come back into her world. So that's men are like rubber bands. We pull away. It builds our distance, makes the heart grow fonder in men because it raises our testosterone. So now I pull away, testosterone's coming up. Now I'm like a rubber band. I spring back because you take a rubber band, pull it away, it springs. But if when I pull away, she keeps following me, like, what are you feeling? What's going on? Come back to me. It hurts when you pull away. Why are you ignoring me? She runs after you. She tries to get you back in a variety of coping mechanisms, either punishing you or trying to please you more, whatever it is. You need your space. So a lot of couples, their whole marriage is her trying to get him to, quote, open up. How many thousands of women have said, how do I deal with an emotionally unavailable woman? My answer to that is become an emotionally available woman. These women are trying to change him. They're not letting him change her. And they're too needy and dependent on him. They need to have all their love vitamins so that they're happy without making him everything. Although he gets to feel like he's everything because he's the whipped cream on top. We're the dessert. We get to provide the extra bonus if she's taking care of herself. And that's hard to do right now during COVID because people are cut off from their normal levels of hormone stimulation. And so they're expecting their partner to make them happy. And whatever their partner does can't make them happy because they're not getting the support they need in other areas of their life to be happy. And then when she becomes unhappy, this is in Men Are From Mars called The Anatomy of an Argument, a great chapter. After listening and having my own arguments with my wife, I'd always analyze them. We men, we live in a world where we're happy if our wives are happy. Because if she's happy, feeling appreciative of I'm in her life, our testosterone stays up. We can't be upset about anything. But when she becomes unhappy about something, our testosterone levels start to go down. So now we want to change her. So she'll express some dissatisfaction, and we try to explain to her, don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. It's not a problem, or I'll solve that problem for you, or you should look at it this way, or that's not exactly what happened, or you're misinterpreting me. You don't understand. You got the wrong idea. All of those efforts are to try to tell her, don't feel what you feel. And if you tell a woman, don't feel what you feel, her stress level goes up more. So what happens is men end up making it worse because they don't understand the love guarantee. The love guarantee is if you can be present with her without her being upset, without you becoming upset, she will, the anatomy of an argument is that you don't get upset. If she's upset, you'll never argue. It's only after she's upset that you get upset, and now you raise your tone of voice, which shuts her down, and she can't hear a word you say or appreciate anything you say. You have to realize, women, that female energy is receptivity. If she does not feel safe, she will go to her male side to protect herself, and anything you say will be rejected. It doesn't work. And the Greeks explained this very nicely. They called it Medusa, the unhappy woman who has snakes coming out of her head. And she has, snakes are like complaints, criticisms, not good enough, all that coming out of her head. And if you're in the Greek myth, if you cut off one of the snakes, that means tell her she shouldn't have that complaint. 3 snakes come back. This is biology, folks. This is biology. She's not a bad person. You took her from a place where she needed help and made it worse, and you didn't know better. Because if you analyze something, you know, what we men do is say, oh, not a big deal. Don't worry about it. Forget it. Let me make it up to you. No, women need to go through the process of being upset and having no one make them wrong for it. So cut off that snake, you'll get 3 back. Then what happens is when you get 3 back, you go into what's called mirroring. Now, this we know in science now, is that when somebody we're connected to has a reaction, we have the opposite reaction to it. If you're angry with me, I become angry with you. If you don't trust me, then I don't trust you. If you have a complaint for me, I have complaints for you. And so now he has more complaints, and you go back and forth. Okay, so the Greek myth also explained, how do you get rid of all those snakes? You have to cut off her head. Now, this is just a metaphor. You want to cut off all those complaints inside of her. How do you do it? Well, so many men tried, and when they raised their sword to cut off her head, they had to look at her. And if you look at an unhappy woman, you turn to stone. See, women, you have to realize this. Anytime you look into a man's eyes and you're not happy in love with him, you turn him to stone. Just get that. If you're upset, just don't look at him. That will make things a little easier. Instead of like giving him that stare, you forgot to bring me this. You didn't call me. And you look at him, the stare turns him to stone. And what that means, he disconnects from all estrogen, has to go back to his testosterone side. So then the next thing in the myth, this is all Greek myth. They had it all figured out. So the next thing is, how do you cut off her head? Well, finally, this brilliant guy cut off her head. How did he do it? He used his shield, and he didn't look at her, but he looked at the shield to see a reflection of her, the reflection of her. And with the reflection, he was able to cut off her head. And then the snakes went away. So what is the shield? The shield is a reflection. If you want a woman's complaints to go away, you have to look at it from her point of view, not your point of view. You have to see the reflection. And that's called learning how to see another point of view, even if you don't agree with it, even if a part of you thinks she's nuts. That's okay, because actually all negativity is crazy. Anything we do which is not loving is irrational. It's the reactive brain behaving like a monkey that doesn't have the ability to open our heart to experience both our female and male sides, which is loving and selfless at the same time. Love is, oh, you gave to me and I'm so appreciative of that. And selflessness is, look what I'm going to do for you. So this is our male and female sides, and you bring them together and greatness results. That's why sex can feel so good. And then it stops because they do it too much. It's an irony, okay? It's an irony. Too much sex will basically cause you to lose interest in sex. What's my evidence for that? almost all couples I've seen who have marriage problems don't have sex anymore. Maybe once a month, but I don't enjoy it, the woman says. He has to have it. As opposed to these skills of raising estrogen make women want sex as much as a man. Okay, that means she's on her female side, and literally her male side can come up without having to push her female side down. And if you look at women when they ovulate, which is when their sex desire is the greatest, according to research, they find men most sexually attractive when their estrogen levels are doubling. What happens when her estrogen levels double, then she gets a surge of testosterone. And that surge of testosterone, not even close to a man's, but it's enough for her to go, I am horny, I want some guy to put it in me. And that's femininity and masculinity at once. She wants to become one with the masculine. That's what you want to create. This is what's possible, but don't get addicted to it. Too much of it. You know, in the beginning, there's all this sex and then suddenly it stops, you know, and you blame it on your kids. No, the kids help, by the way, because it's been proven that when men get married, their testosterone levels go down a notch. And when they have children, they go down even more. So single men all have higher testosterone than your average married man with children. However, I have children, I have wife, my testosterone was high because I was having regular sex, but not every day of the week. There was like this pressure. I remember the pressure. People say, well, how much sex do you have as an expert? I want to say at least 2 or 3 times a week. But for me, if I just go with my nature, it was once a week. And so if I had sex once a week, it doubles, and I don't masturbate. So what happens if you don't ejaculate for a man for 6 days, on the 7th day, his testosterone doubles. You become alpha male, and she becomes alpha woman because actually, I don't know what we call her, but she becomes goddess woman, goddess woman, because she can be orgasmic. This is what we all want. Nobody talks about, nobody tells us how to do it. And because see, I talk all around the world, any country, everywhere I go, at least the audiences that come to me, I say, what's the most important topic? Everybody wants to feel what they felt in the beginning of a relationship, which is safe, appreciated, loving, and sexual attraction. And unfortunately for men, once their testosterone goes down, they say to me, my friends say, oh, I don't miss it. You know, that's because you don't feel your desire for it. Of course you don't miss it because you don't want it, and nothing happening down south. They always get really mad at me. I'm in these older men's groups, you know. I start talking about sex. They okay, stop. I say, you should practice these techniques. They're retired. As soon as a man retires, his testosterone goes down. Everything goes down. You know, you got to stay working, men. You got to keep doing something. At least find something you like to do and also work to do. Anyway, I don't know what your question was at this point, but I appreciate your acknowledgement of my work. I like all your laughter as you're smiling there.
I'm just here. I gotta hold him to the answer to this question. The question was, what's a healthy timeline when you're going through the steps on the?
Okay, thank you for holding me to the timeline. I'm all timeless. Okay, the healthy thing. The older you are, the more, if you're mature, let's say you're growing in love and maturity, the shorter the timeline is. The younger you are, the longer the timeline needs to be. That's all I can say on that. It all has to do with the individual. If, you know, the key to this is when you have the attraction stage, you jump in to have sex, you miss the uncertainty stage. You see, the uncertainty stage is you're starting to feel, oh, I really like this person, I care for this person, I love this person. Then you once you start feeling this could be the one, it's normal and natural to then go into a place of, but I'm not sure. Because basically, before you make a commitment, you're gonna feel some anxiety. Am I making the right decision? So if you were to come to my house as a guest, you'd say, oh, you have a beautiful home. But if you were to buy my house, you'd want to look to see, are there cracks? Is there mold? What are the water bills? How much does it cost to get this place, you know, to run all the gardens and everything? Can we afford it? There's all this looking at the problems that happens when you actually think about buying something. So the commitment is like, okay, am I just going to see this person? And for men particularly, commitment can be challenging if he hasn't had enough experience of being able to pull away and spring back without a woman being unhappy with him. He needs to feel that she's not so needy. That's his needing to pull away and come back. pulling away and coming back, uncertainty and then enjoying, uncertainty and enjoying. That builds your confidence that when you pull away, you'll also want to come back. Because here's another thing that happens is guys will have a bunch of sex right away with their partner. Then they pull away a lot. And this is what happens is a lot of sex too much at a time will be very exciting, but also lowers your testosterone. It's bonding happens when your testosterone doubles. So if you pull away from your partner, you don't have that same sexual attraction. Many men I talk to in their 40s and 50s who've never made a commitment, I ask them, okay, when you're with a woman, do you find that after you've had sex with her, that a few days later, your mind is wandering to other women and they always look better on the other side of the fence? And they go, yeah, I can't make up my mind. I say, what you're doing now is you're interrupting the natural bonding process, because as soon as you pull away, you might lose interest for this woman sexually temporarily because your testosterone went down. And because you don't have confidence and security and you can make a woman happy, that's part of it for men. And also you don't know better. When your testosterone goes down, if you see another woman who's new and showing attention to you, it might go up for her. And then you make the big mistake of going and having sex with her, which now causes your testosterone to go down with her. And then it will come back up with the first woman. But then you're ambivalent. Do I go here? Do I go here? So you pull away from this one, you go to that one, you pull away from that one, you go here. And you can't actually experience this confidence that emerges inside of you when you have this bonding experience of being present with your partner and your testosterone levels doubling again and again and again. That makes you solid. Now, there's actually another hormone, and I can't remember the name of it, but if these mice, and some mice, they're the same species, but some are born with less of, it sounds like oxytocin, but it's another word. It's the hormone in men that when you have an erection, you can't pee. Okay, it inhibits you from peeing. So when you ejaculate, you get ejaculation and not pee. There's a certain hormone. What's it called?
Vasopressin?
Yeah, vasopressin. Thank you. Okay, so you got oxytocin and vasopressin. Very interesting. They almost are the same molecular structure. But if for men, vasopressin helps you to not pee into a woman. Okay, and oxytocin helps a woman's fluids to flow down south. So anyway, so oxytocin lowers testosterone in women. Vasopressin in these little moles, these little animals, some of them are extremely polygamous and some of them are extremely monogamous. And the ones that are extremely monogamous are the ones who produce vasopressin. And when you have high testosterone in the presence of your partner, you will produce vasopressin. Now, there's no research that shows that, except I'm telling you that after I've had sex, particularly because I don't ejaculate, I have a 17-year-old penis. Okay, now most men, the Taoists, when they talk about penises, they say as you get older, you can see a man's biological age by how far up his penis goes when he's erect. Some men in their 80s, they're erect, but the penis is facing down because they're 80 years old biologically. So your biology of your penis erection, if it's sticking out straight, you know, you're 45, 50 years old, but then as it starts dropping even more, your biological age is lower. This is your vitality. And now if you're doubling your testosterone, when you have an erection, it goes straight up. That's 18 years old. So what's your testosterone test? It's your erections. Do they go straight up? And is you're having too much sex, you'll see your erections will start going down, down, down. It doesn't have that same electricity and passion, and also patience. Think about the first time you made love. If you really loved a woman and cared for her, you're drinking in every little touch. She's the one who wants to rush on, you know, because she's so excited. And you say to her, no, not yet. You tease her. You're teasing her to where she wants sex more than you want it. That is great sex. Then she can be orgasmic, and literally the pressure on a man to ejaculate becomes less and less and less the more he experiences her orgasmic energy. And so this is in my class. I have a class on my website, which is, what is it called? The Secrets of Great Sex. I have a wonderful book for couples to read together called Mars and Venus in the Bedroom. It's so much fun to read it together. And that takes you to the level where you will continually produce orgasms in her. You follow the basic instructions. And there's a million different ways to have sex, okay? But there's a basic guidelines to make sure, for example, her orgasm first. And if you ejaculate and she didn't have an orgasm, your testosterone is going to shoot way down. It will still recover after 6 or 7 days, but why not have more of a bonding experience of Superman with her? And so basically it's the need, the awareness. If she doesn't have orgasms, she's stressed. Stressed women can't have orgasms. They can have vibrator orgasms, by the way. This is just like men are like having this huge problem because of their addiction to pornography and how it's affecting their masculinity, lowering it, lowering it, lowering it. For women, vibrators, stimulating yourself is testosterone producing, and you can have a male orgasm. Just a big sneeze. It's not surrendering yourself. You can't surrender yourself and love to a vibrator. It doesn't happen that way. It needs to be a man. You need masculine energy. You need him to do you. Sex is him doing you. And of course, at certain times, when your testosterone surges because your estrogen goes so high, then you want to do him. That's when you'll throw him over and jump on him. But then he'll throw you back as his testosterone goes higher, because it will always go higher when he feels I did that to you. Just as your testosterone goes higher when you see he did that, you did that to him. So this is this beautiful dance that we can share in intimacy and privacy. And what makes it so spectacular is she doesn't show her naked body to anybody. See, intimacy is going into a woman. Major estrogen production when a woman reveals her mind to her partner that she wouldn't reveal to anybody else. You don't share all your thoughts that you have at work. You know, you edit yourself all the time, women. You put on makeup to look good and happy. You hide your feelings, your emotions. Women are constantly having, in this male-dominated world, they're having to, hide what they really feel and what they think in order to adapt and be successful in the male world. So they're suppressing. If you're in that situation, there's going to be no water that goes down south for you. You've got to start opening your mind, then your heart, then the water flows down south, and then you feel the emptiness inside of you that wants to be filled up with the masculine energy. That's a soulmate relationship. That's beautiful. And that's possible as women go more to their female side and men go more to their male side. It revitalates itself. So what do you do if you're an old guy and you don't have your testosterone, you're not interested in sex, and she's not either? Then start saying, we have a problem. Get naked, she gets naked, and you don't. And you give her massages. That's it, naked massages, and you learn the art of massage. Non-physical, non-sexual touch stimulates huge amounts of oxytocin that gradually increases estrogen levels to where she's going to start feeling aroused. You know she's aroused when her breathing changes. And then you stop. You don't go any further. You don't give it more. She may want more. She want to kiss you. She want to be close to you. Say, let's go slow. Let's go slow. You become the regular. I want to kiss you, but let's go slow until the desire builds up even more. See, that drives women wild. You see, men, you give up all your power when you're rushing to everything before her. You want to hold back to increase her yin energy. Because see, it's your feminine energy that wants to feel pleasure. You want to go inside of her and feel all that pleasure. Oh, that feels so good. You're connecting with your female side. You're too much on your female side. That's why a few minutes, the average man visiting a porn site, the average, they have statistics on this, is 8 minutes. That means he goes online, he searches for the right woman, he picks the right woman, he masturbates, and it's over. The whole thing took 8 minutes. This is not enough time for anything to happen. Okay, you need time to build these energies up, and your own ability to perform as a man to get to higher and higher levels of orgasmic energy is going slow and building her up always higher than you. Here's something very fun for men to know, because you see all these, what are these pills to make your penis bigger and whatever? None of that makes your penis bigger, but your penis is much bigger than you think. If you get an erection, you can push your finger, let's say this is an erection, and you push your finger down, you'll feel that under the surface, you've got 1 or 2 inches of erection that hasn't yet made itself to the surface. That's why when you give her orgasm and another one, your penis actually, you push down, there's nothing down there. You gain 1 or 2 inches. And literally for a woman's vagina, after she's had all the clitoris spot, all the different points that need to be pushed and stimulated, different types of orgasms she has, then her cervix actually comes down. Just as your penis gets longer, her cervix comes down so they can touch. And then it's multi-orgasmic at that point.
but she has to build up the estrogen. His testosterone levels has to be much stronger than his own estrogen. Anyway, it's fun I usually don't give that talk. But here's this young stud, Tony, with his partner. He's smiling at herself. I get inspired when I have young men around because they actually are motivated to do this stuff. But literally, I told you what to do. If you're not getting your erections, men, first of all, there's something called Neo 40. Neo 40 is made from beets, and it will improve your sexual performance. It will get your erections back, just taking Neo 40 and also having your wife. You're doing something. You have to have your clothes on. She's not allowed to touch you. She's not allowed to stimulate you. So there's no performance pressure on you, nor is she giving you anything. It's all a matter of her receiving. Because as women start to enjoy receiving, it arouses men. And you know she's starting to receive when she starts to breathe automatically. That's arousal breath. And people can start having intercourse and she hasn't gotten to arousal breath. It's dry down there. So you put in lotions and everything. Your body's designed to produce lubrication. If it's not producing lubrication, you're not doing the right techniques, to strategies, open the mind, open the heart, and then you get the vagina. Now, there is something I have put in my class on sex, which is for young men. A lot of them are traumatized by women who reject them sexually. So sometimes in a relationship, if he's wanting sex and she doesn't want to have sex, this could be very traumatizing to him. He associates rejection with sexuality and loses interest in her. But the woman who hasn't rejected him, subconsciously, the unconscious mind goes, oh, she hasn't rejected me, so I could have sex. But all it takes is women to consistently 3 or 4 times reject a man sexually, and he no longer freely feels like, oh, honey, let's go have sex. Let's go have sex. And that affects his conditioned brain. So you have to uncondition. And so one of the ways to uncondition is to have something called quickies, which means that if she's not in the mood, but he's in the mood, we can always have a quickie. And that way he never feels rejected. And then after a few months of getting quickies, he'll go, you know, you say to him, we can have a quickie, or if you give me a few days, I can get in the mood. He'll start to choose, okay, I don't feel rejected. We could always have a quickie, but why not have the real thing? And the more you experience the real thing, a quickie is just a sneeze. Why would I want to do that? I'm just addicted to sex. And some men are just massively addicted to sex. They want to ejaculate every day. They feel dissatisfied. One woman asked me, she said, well, what's too much sex? You know, I said, well, how often does your partner want to have sex? He wants to do it 3 times a day. I said, he's sick. He's addicted. Okay, he needs to get off his addiction so he's not thinking about himself all the time when he's having sex and can actually slow down to give you his energy instead of take yours. These are my thoughts.
Cool.
Hey, Tony, was that helpful? Oh, I know the question, how to go through the 5 stages. If you go through uncertainty, then you make your commitment. Then in your commitment, men tend to get lazy. Women tend to start giving too much. So if you can hold back from that, then she feels really safe. Then you start getting into deeper emotional, irrational responses from her. And if you can handle those deeper emotional responses from her without getting upset, she feels safe and she learns to move through those. Then you get to a waking up one morning with massive confidence that you can sustain attraction for her, even if she's not always happy. That's the power. When you get to that place where if you're not perfect and she's not happy with you, she can still love you, then you know she's the one for me. Otherwise, you keep going back to uncertainty because you didn't spend enough time in uncertainty.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
We're now approaching a marathon time here. It's now approaching 10 o'clock and we've been at this for almost 3 hours. So maybe this is the time to say we need to put off further discussion to another session.
Well, that'd be
Yeah,
fun.
the sun
I
is
just want to
rising
thank you so
here.
much. I love your group so much. I think it's the most amazing group of people, and I've always enjoyed coming and seeing your wonderful audience. I don't know. Could I see them all now on Zoom, or is that is it possible?
If you click on well, it looks like most people have their cameras turned off.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw that. But anyway, I want to thank you for
We're down from close to 50 to 30. So
Hey, we hung in there. This is a marathon. You know, I've been doing this since 9 o'clock and 10 o'clock this morning.
We'd love to have you back. If our audience wants you back,
If they want me back,
go
I'm happy to be back. Let's do it.
Love it.
Absolutely.
Ready. Let's do it again. Thank you so much.
okay,
Yeah.
appreciate you.
Oh,
Thank
I know
you.
that. I feel that. And Susan, thank you for all the amazing work that you do to reveal the truth to everybody, and Stephen for being a part of this and making all this happen. You know, I always feel this is the out of the box group. You know, they care about they're responsible for their health and their lives, and they're
Yeah.
eager to learn.
Your
And no matter
peer
what
group.
age you are, that's a great inspiration to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thanks for everybody's stamina here.
Yeah, the sun's come up here. Got to go to bed.
Yeah, time to go to bed.